Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve. Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet.
Gunsmoke. The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
And on this Sunday, with comedy involved, we're going to focus on Tuesday, June 2nd, 1953, with episodes of Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis, who are joined by Jeff Chandler, and an episode of My Friend Irma starring Marie Wilson, so that's going to make Jimmy really happy. We're also going to hear Jack Benny in two different perspectives. We're going to hear him on his regular show, the Jell-O Show from 1940, 84 years ago, and we're also going to hear him in an episode of Suspense, The Good and Faithful Servant. And we'll wrap it all up with an episode of Superman. That's all straight ahead on this Sunday, 2nd day of June, and this happens to be the 154th day of the year, 212 days left until we get to 2025. First smallpox vaccinations in North America on this date in 1800. P.T. Barnum and his circus began their first tour of the U.S. on this date in 1835. President Grover Cleveland married Frances Folsom in the White House in 1886. He is so far the only president to wed in the executive mansion. Marconi received a patent for his new invention on this date in 1896, something called the radio. President Coolidge signed the Indian Citizenship Act into law in 1924, granting citizenship to all Native Americans born within the territorial limits of the U.S. In 1953, Queen Elizabeth II of England coronated the first televised coronation in 1953. The first contingent of Australian combat troops arrived in South Vietnam on this date in 1965. In 1966, Surveyor 1 landed on the moon, becoming the first spacecraft to soft land on another world, back in 1966. In 1979, Pope John Paul II visited his native Poland, becoming the first pope to visit a communist country. In 1990, Lower Ohio Valley tornado outbreak, 88 confirmed tornadoes in Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, and Ohio, 12 people killed, which for 88 tornadoes, that is a low death toll. Peterson, Indiana, the hardest hit town in the outbreak, 6 dead there. In 1995, Air Force Captain Scott O'Grady's F-16 shot down over Bosnia while patrolling the NATO no-fly zone. In Denver on this date in 1997, Timothy McVeigh convicted on 15 counts of murder and conspiracy for his role in the 1995 terrorist bombing of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City.
Guilty of count 1, guilty of conspiracy to use a weapon of mass destruction. Count 2, guilty, use of a weapon of mass destruction, guilty. Count 3, destruction by explosive, guilty. Do you find that the government proved beyond a reasonable doubt that the crimes committed by Timothy McVeigh resulted in the death of one or more of the persons named in the indictment? Yes. First question is yes. This could kick in the death penalty. Second question, answer is yes, then the death of such persons was a foreseeable result of the defendant's criminal conduct.
Court TV's Dan Abrams, McVeigh would be executed 4 years later. Ironically, there are a number of outstanding co-conspirators that have never been indicted in that. And I know that people don't like me getting too political on this, but this was the first terrorism attack on United States soil in the 20th century. And to be, well, actually, the first. The second would have been the first attack on the World Trade Center. I've got to get between this and the first World Trade Center bombing, this may still have actually been the second. But the only one that involved U.S. citizens, the one in New York City at the World Trade Center, the first one, that was involving mostly other people outside the U.S., and then, of course, the 2000 9/11 attacks. I'm wandering here. Pardon me. Let me get back to work here. 1998, the CIH computer virus discovered in Taiwan. And in 2004, Ken Jennings began his 74-game winning streak on Jeopardy! His total earnings were at the time $3 million. It'd be almost $5 million today. That was in 2004. That's how bad inflation has gone. Passing away on this date in history, baseball's Lou Gehrig, Gene Hirschhold, Dr. Christian, also playwright George S. Kaufman, actor Leo Gorcey, bandleader Sammy Kaye, Spanish guitarist Andres Segovia, actor Jack Guilford, Rex Harrison, Ray Combs, comedian The Family Feud, also actress Imogen Coca, pro wrestler Freddie Blassie, the pencil neck geek guy, also Bo Diddley, actor Mel Ferrer, and another game show host. He did so much, Hogan's Heroes, and then he did The Family Feud twice. Richard Dawson, wonderful fellow, passing away on this date in history. Among those born on this date in history include Marvin Hamlish, the 1902 piano rag The Entertainer. It was in the motion picture The Sting. And can you believe a song written in 1902 went to number 1 on the easy listening charts, number 3 on the Billboard pop charts in 1974, and of course performed by Marvin Hamlish. Marvin Hamlish, born on this date in history. Also born on this date, let's see, we have the first First Lady, Martha Washington, born on this date. The Marquis de Sade, born on this date. Pope Pius X, composer Edward Elgar. The first Tarzan, Johnny Weissmuller. Also, Walter Tetley. Such an amazing range of talents that he performed over the years. Football team president, general manager, Tex Schramm. He was born on this date. Astronaut Pete Conrad. Also, the original Hot Lips in the motion picture MASH, Sally Kellerman. Also, singer Jimmy Jones. All born on this date in history.
Hi, this is Jeff Foxworthy. It is now time for the birthday announcements. The following people are now officially older than dirt.
Happy birthday number 92 for Sammy Turner.
1959.
Lavender blue, dilly dilly, lavender green. If I were a king, dilly dilly, I need a queen. Whoa, told me so, dilly dilly. Who told me so? I told myself, dilly dilly, I told me so.
The third most popular song of the year in 1959, Sammy Turner's version of Lavender Blue, although originally titled Lavender's Blue. The song had quite the life. It was originally written back in the 1670s, and it would run in 1949. In the 1948 motion picture So Dear to My Heart, sung by Burl Ives, which was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Original Song, even though it had its roots in that ancient stuff. So yeah, it's been around a number of years. It was released by Burl Ives in 1949, and a number of other artists released it. This version that you just heard by Sammy Turner was released in 1959. And it would be released again, another version, in 2016 by Reinhard May. So, yeah, it's still going around today. Lavender's Blue. Sammy Turner, 92 years old today. From NBC's 1966 Tarzan, we mentioned Johnny Weissmuller being born on this date. So was the 1966 Tarzan on NBC, Ron Ely. He was also in the Doc Savage television show. Ron Ely, 86 today. Mike Hammer, Stacy Keach, 83 today. The Bieber, Jerry Mathers, is 76. Actor-comedian Dana Carvey, 69. Pro wrestler Lex Luger, 66. Race car driver Kyle Petty is 64. From whose line is it anyway? And now let's make a deal. Wayne Brady, 52. He was Spock in the 2009 Star Trek reboot. Also, he was in Heroes. Zachary Quintero, 47 today. WWE's AJ Styles, 47. From Firefly, Jewel State is 42, and Spandau Ballet's Tony Hadley turned 64 today.
1983. So true, funny how it seems, always in time, but never in line for dreams. Head over heels, went toe to toe. This is the sound. This is the sound. I bought a ticket to the world, but now I've come back again. Why do I find it hard to write the next line? Oh, I want the truth to be said. I know this.
Oh, what a sweet song. Spandau Ballet's Tony Hadley, 64 years old today. Those some of the people who celebrate the second day of June as their birthday. And if this happens to be your birthday,
We baked you a birthday cake.
If you get a tummy ache and you moan and groan and woe,
Don't forget we told you so. Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Make a wish, dear, and blow out the candles.
Here they go.
and we start off this Sunday edition of the program with a salute to Tuesday, June 2nd, 1953. And we start off with Dean Martin, Jerry Lewis, and their guest, Jeff Chandler. That's up first here on this Sunday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
This is basic civil defense information from the Department of Defense, Office of Civil Defense, Washington. When a nuclear bomb or missile explodes near the ground, great quantities of earth and debris are sucked up into the fireball and carried by the prevailing winds before falling back to Earth. This material is radioactive fallout. The particles look like grains of salt or sand. Fallout gives off invisible gamma rays like X-rays, and heavy exposure to it can cause serious radiation sickness, even death. If a person receives a small or medium dose of radiation, his body will repair itself and he will get well. Usually the effects of radiation from fallout are more severe in very young and very old persons and those not in good health. Radiation sickness is not contagious. The most dangerous period is the first 24 hours after fallout arrives, but you might have to use fallout shelter up to 2 weeks. For further information about fallout and how you can protect yourself against it, consult your local civil defense office.
And that's good for any time when they're times of trouble, don't you know? All right, let's get going on this Sunday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, an episode of Dean Martin, Jerry Lewis, their program from 71 years ago, June 2nd, 1953.
Transcribed.
Hey, Dean, is it time for us to go on yet?
Now, just a second, Jerry. Wait till I finish my Chesterfield.
Regular?
No, king size. Why?
Well, in that case, I'll have to wait over a fifth longer for you.
Which means that Chesterfield, first with premium quality and best for you, brings you the Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis Show.
Chesterfield is best for you, much milder, better tasting too. They're today's best cigarette pie.
Come on, smokers, why don't you try
Chesterfield,
best for you?
Chesterfield, best for you. Regular, king size, either way. Make it Chesterfields today.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to bring you our master of ceremonies, Dean Martin.
Thank you. Thanks very much, ladies and gentlemen, and a hearty, happy hello to all of you from Chesterfield. There's lots of fun cooking tonight, so while my partner Jerry, the crazy chef, brings the laughs to a boil, I'd like to whip up an opening musical stew for you. Ah, there's good stews tonight. What can I say, dear, after I say I'm sorry? What can I do to prove to you I'm sorry? I didn't mean to ever be mean to you. If I didn't care, I wouldn't feel like I do. Oh, I was all wrong, but right or wrong, I don't blame you. Why should I take somebody like you and shame you? I know that I made you cry, and I'm so sorry, dear. So what can I say, dear, after I say I'm sorry? Why should I take somebody like you and shame you? I know that I made you cry, and I'm so sorry, dear. So what can I say, dear, after I say I'm sorry? Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. And now, before my partner gets here, let me tell you the truth about him. I know Jerry never went to school. Jerry never had any education. But, friends, that doesn't make Jerry an idiot.
Then what did?
Well, jumping jaws fat, it's Jerry Lewis. Well, I'm glad to see you, Jerry. Tell me, what's new?
Oh, nothing much. Last night my cat had kittens.
Jerry, every time I ask you what's new, you tell me your cat had kittens. Can't you think of anything else?
I can, but the cat can't.
So there's really nothing new, huh?
No, just the same old thing. You know, this morning my dog had guppies.
No, you mean puppies.
No, guppies.
Jerry, how could your dog have guppies?
He fell into the goldfish bowl.
Oh. But it was just one of those days when nothing happened, huh?
Yep, except that my mother just flew in from Newark.
Oh, did you meet her at the airport?
No, I've known her for years.
I see. Did she come out here to visit you?
No, she came to visit my uncle, who has a whole chain of Orange Julius stands named after him.
Oh, your uncle's name is Julius?
No, Orange.
Now, wait a minute. If Orange is your uncle's name, who's Julius?
My aunt.
Your aunt, sure. How did she ever get the name Julius?
She won it in a raffle.
In a raffle?
Yeah, you see, when she was a baby, they didn't know what to name her. So they gave her a punch board, and Julius is the name she punched out.
But there's nothing new outside that, huh, Jerry?
Oh, nothing new.
You just picked up your mother and drove her to your Uncle Orange's place.
Yeah, in the car my brother stole.
Your brother stole a car?
Well, he didn't think he was stealing. You see, it was parked outside a cemetery, and he thought the owner was dead.
Nothing happened. It was just one of those dull days, huh?
Yeah, I drove my mother home. On the way, it started to rain, so my mother told me to get a windshield wiper and put it on the car.
Did that help?
No, it kept right on raining.
Kept raining. Well, so it was just one of those nothing happened days, huh, Jer?
Yeah, didn't do too much.
Oh, well.
Practically nothing. Why, when I got home, I tried to transplant my giant California redwood tree. It was 300 feet tall.
Oh, it was getting too big for the garden.
No, too big for the pot.
I didn't know you had a giant redwood tree.
Oh, yes, I planted it myself. First, I cut a hole in the seed.
You cut a hole in the seed?
Yeah. That's so when it grows up, cars can drive right through it.
Now, that's quick thinking.
Well, the tree looked a little peaked, so I chopped it down and took it to a tree surgeon.
Jerry, if the poor thing was sick, why didn't you bring the tree surgeon out to see the tree?
I don't throw my money away. A house visit is $5. In the office, it's only $2.
I can't wait to hear what happened when you got the tree to surgery.
Well, when I got there, the office was crowded. It was terrible.
What was terrible?
How'd you like to sit for 3 hours with a 300-foot tree in your lap?
But nothing happened today, huh? You just sat there in the doctor's office with a tree in your lap.
Yeah, when the doctor came out, he took one look at the tree. I got the shock of my life.
Well, what happened? What did he say?
It wasn't a redwood tree at all. It was an oak tree with a high blood pressure.
Here is Chesterfield's record with smokers. And important to you.
No adverse effects to the nose, throat, and sinuses from smoking Chesterfield.
That's the report of a doctor who has been examining a group of Chesterfield smokers for a full year and 2 months as part of a program supervised by a responsible independent research laboratory. Don't you want to try a cigarette with a record like this? Chesterfield. First with premium quality. Chesterfield. First choice of young America. And that's from a survey made in 274 colleges and universities. Try Chesterfields today. Chesterfield. Regular or king size. They're much milder. And best for you.
You know, friends, when the popular songs of 1953 are counted for, there's one tune I'll bet on to finish near the top of the list. It's my privilege to nominate and my pleasure to sing Downhearted.
Ever since we parted, I've been downhearted. Whoever thought I'd miss you so? Please come back, I beg you. Please, baby, please. What fools are we who cannot see the forest for the trees? Now I'm the one that I outsmarted, and I'm downhearted. I lost the truest love I'll ever know. Oh, how I yearn to hold you in my arms once again, and I'll be downhearted till then. To hold you in my arms once again, and I'll be downhearted till then.
prepare to enjoy yourselves because our guest star tonight...
Oh, Dean.
Our guest star tonight...
Dean, I have to rush off right now to see my girl. She just came from the plastic surgeon's office, and believe me, she looks 100% better.
Why, did he remove the mole on her face?
No, he left the mole, he removed the face.
But, Jerry, I'm about to introduce our guest. You can't leave now.
Oh, but I have to, partner Mio. I promised to drive her to the dog races.
Now, don't tell me she's one of the dogs that's racing.
She's one of the dogs. That's utterly absurd.
She isn't?
No, she's the rabbit.
Well, that'll keep till after the show. Right now, I want you and our listeners to meet a star whose popularity is truly unanimous. Here's the man you'll soon be able to see co-starring with Faith DeMerg in Universal International's Technicolor production of The Great Sioux Uprising. Our he-est of He-Men guests, Jeff Chandler. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yes, sir, Jeff, boy. I'm no fool. I sit down when he comes around, boy. Welcome there to our wigwam, Big Chief Chandler.
Ugh.
Gee, holy mackerel and jeepers creepers. Isn't Mr. Chandler mucular? Sir, I would like to meet you.
Sure, kid, here. Shake.
Anyone for lady fingers?
You've met my partner before, haven't you, Jeff?
Oh, sure, Dean, but I just don't remember where.
Oh, don't you remember, Mr. Chandler? Remember you once played badminton with me?
Oh, yes. Sorry, I didn't recognize you without your feathers.
Now, see here, you yellow-bellied tough guy.
You know who you're talking to?
Sorry. See here, you yellow-bellied tough guy, sir. I have a violent temper, see? When I'm mad, I forget good sportsmanship. When I fight, I always lose my head.
You do?
Yeah, they always keep knocking it off.
You a fighter? Why, when I eat at a restaurant, I leave more than you on my plate.
Jerry just talks stuff. He never had a fight in his life.
Oh, yeah? I only yesterday had a fight with a guy. He hit me, then I hit him. Then he hit me, then I hit him, then he hit me.
And then?
And then I quit.
Well, why didn't you hit him back?
I'm no fool. Then it would have been his turn to hit again.
Jerry, now don't go flaunting your tiny muscle in Jeff's face.
Well, yes, if he does, I'll beat him within a half inch of his life.
You mean an inch of my life?
You don't have that much left.
Look, Chandler.
If you just lay a finger on me, I shall rear up, expand my chest to its fullest,
Yeah?
and yell for my girl.
Say, Dean, Jerry's girl must be tough.
Tough? Why, when she smiles, her face makes a fist.
Not anymore, it doesn't. She just went to a plastic surgeon. Here's her picture.
Ugh. Oh, Jerry, this is awful. Was this picture of her taken before the operation or after?
During.
How can you go with a brute like that, Jerry? Look at the size of her mouth.
It's not her fault, Dean. It got that way from eating bananas.
Oh, now, Jerry, a mouth can't get that big from eating bananas.
Sideways? Look, Mr. Chandler, let me tell you something. My girl, Yetta.
Yetta?
My girl, Yetta, may not be beautiful, charming, nor fun-loving. But when I'm lonely and blue and all the world seems to have forsaken me, I rush over and ring her doorbell.
And she lets you into the house?
No, she doesn't have a house, just a doorbell.
And then what?
I take her in my arms and look at her, and when I compare her with all the other girls here in Hollywood, deep down inside, I get that certain feeling.
What feeling?
Like I want to throw up.
Jerry, you'd make out much better in the romance department if you developed your physique by doing bodybuilding exercises like Jeff here.
Oh, but I do. do you hear? I do. When I get up in the morning, the first thing I do is walk around on all fours.
That's not exercise, that's heredity.
Just a minute, Mr. Chandler. Are you inferring that my grandfather is a monkey?
No.
Then how come he works for an organ grinder?
Jerry Lewis. Jerry, to exercise properly, you have to breathe properly. Show him what I mean, Jeff.
All right, Dean. Just watch me now, Jerry.
What happened, Jerry?
I just been inhaled.
Stop that.
You see, Jerry, when I breathe from the stomach. That's what you ought to do.
I can't. I got no nose down there.
Jerry, I can tell you've led a soft life. You've never known hardships. You ought to learn to rough it. Live outdoors like the American Indians.
The American Indians?
What are you so surprised about? That's our play for tonight.
I know, but when I finally get a line, I read it.
Well, let's get going, Fenneman.
Yes.
When he gets a line, he reads it too. Read on, Fenneman.
Right, Dean. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chesterfield Smoke Signal Players present Dean Martin, Jerry Lewis, and Jeff Chandler in a stirring drama of the Indians, entitled... Taken from the short story...
This is the reservation. Me wear moccasins, me covered with war paint. Me have red face. Me an Indian. Me have twin sons, both named Running Water.
Me hot.
Me cold.
Me just home from summer vacation. Me go to Indian college. It is called Tech.
Me no go school at all. All day long, me shoot arrow into air. It fall to earth, me know not where. But me rich Indian, me no care.
Today, me heap happy. Me heap gay. Me heap excited. Me drive home from college in $4 jalopy. Another heap. This man, my father.
Ah, my son, you have returned.
Welcome home, brother. Pull up an arrow and sit down.
Me, I've been unhappy at college. Oh, great red father. No one would talk to me, 'cause me half bleed.
You mean you're a half-breed?
No, half bleed. Me anemic.
I am disappointed, son. You now talk pale-face talk. Have you forgotten red man's talk?
Indeedy, ugh, I have.
I will refresh your memory of Indian talk, brother. Repeat after me. How?
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 See, son, it's easy if you know how. You have changed inside, too, Hot, my boy. You do not seem happy to be an Indian.
True, father. I walked around the campus one day with all these feathers on, and somebody said, "I'd like to see you lay egg." I was so embarrassed.
Why?
I did.
Oh! Brother, since you have been away, I have invented a new sport you will enjoy. It is called Indian wrestling.
But Indian wrestling is an old sport.
With girls?
Son, we must have talk. I have sent you to Indian college at much expense.
Yes, old father. It costs you 400 beads a year.
I hope it was worth it. Show Dad your report card.
Here, father. In college, I learned to write my name.
I see the report card is already signed.
I learned to write yours, too.
Let's see your grades. A in TP building, B in powwow, fire making, A.
Oh, yes, father. After 4 years, I learned how to make a fire by rubbing two sticks together.
Good.
But one of them has to be a matchstick.
Oh!
Totem pole carving, A.
I brought home the totem pole I carved, sir. Here it is.
Man, dig that crazy popsicle. Brother, we have a surprise for you. Here's your graduation present.
Just what I always wanted, a tomahawk in the shape of a fountain pen.
Now you can kill pale faces and keep score at the same time.
Take that present back from him, Cold. He doesn't deserve the gift. According to his report card at tomahawk throwing, he goofed.
I'm sorry, sir. It's just that I never quite mastered the interlocking grip.
Hand me that tomahawk. See that Indian outside with the king-size Chesterfield in his mouth? Now watch. He's now smoking regular size.
Oh, brother, let me try. I'll knock what's left of the cigarette out of his mouth. Here goes. Oh, well. Now when he has a cold, he'll just have to learn to blow something else.
Hot, my son. This is the most crushing blow of all. A note from the dean saying you've been expelled because you got the lowest grade in hunting.
I am sorry, sir, but during the midterms, I was out in the woods tracking when suddenly a big bear, sneaked up, threw her arms around me, and began to squeeze me.
Why didn't you scream for help?
I thought it was love.
But that's impossible. A bear couldn't be in love with you.
Oh, no? Zelda! Mom, meet your new daughter-in-law.
Years ahead of them all.
Chesterfield is years ahead of all cigarettes.
Chesterfield quality is highest. Here's the proof.
Recent chemical analyses give an index of good quality for the country's 6 leading cigarette brands. The index of good quality table, which is a ratio of high sugar to low nicotine, shows Chesterfield quality highest.
Chesterfield quality highest.
15% higher than its nearest competitor.
Chesterfield quality highest.
31% higher than the average of the 5 other leading brands. Don't you want to try a cigarette with a record like this?
Chesterfield. First with premium quality and best for you.
Try Chesterfield today. Regular or king size.
Ladies and gentlemen, just like bread goes with butter, so does a love song go with spring. And so for my springtime serenade tonight, here's a haunting ballad that should please all lovers of music and romance.
Long ago and far away, I dreamed a dream one day. And now the dream is here beside me. Long the skies were overcast, but now the clouds have passed. You're here at last. Chills run up and down my spine. Aladdin's lamp is mine. The dream I dreamed was not denied me. Just one look and then I knew that all I longed for long ago was you.
That was just great, Dean. You must really get the girls with that singing.
Thanks, Jeff, but I'll bet you do even better with that distinguished head of hair. Girls go for guys who are graying at the temples.
That's not true. My brother was gray at the temples, and he used to frighten girls away.
Frighten girls away, but why I?
Because he had no hair, just gray temples.
Well, this has been a lot of fun, but I gotta be running along, fellas.
Wait for me, Mr. Chandler. I must bring this present to my girl.
What'd you get her, Jeff? What'd you get her, Jeff? What'd you get her?
Oh, I got my girl one earring.
One earring? I don't get it. How can your girl wear one earring on both ears?
She has a very thin head.
Now I really gotta get out of here.
I'd like to go with you, Jeff, but not before we thank you for being such a wonderful guest, Jeff.
Yes, thank you very much, Jeff, and please come and visit us again real soon.
Thanks, I will. Good night, fellas, and good night, all.
Good night, Jeff.
Friends, vacation time will be here real soon. And when it comes time for you to take off, remember, take along plenty of Chesterfields.
Right. For your best vacation, pick up a couple of cartons. Chesterfields. Either way you like them, regular or king size.
So until next week, this is Dean Martin.
And this is Jerry Lewis saying,
thank you,
God bless y'all.
From Hollywood, you've just heard transcribed the Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis Show, produced and directed by Dick Mack, written by Arthur Phillips and Austin Kalish, with music prepared and conducted by Dick Stabile. And this is George Fenneman reminding you to listen to Chesterfield's award-winning show, Dragnet, Sunday night on the same NBC station.
Now, new Fatima has the tip for your lips. Fatima tips of perfect cork. King size for natural filtering. Fatima quality for a much better flavor and aroma. So remember, new Fatima has the tip for your lips. Fatima. See how smooth they are.
Remember, Fatima is made by the makers of Chesterfield, Liggett and Myers, one of tobacco's most respected names.
The coronation highlights tonight at 10 New York time on NBC.
Did that not sound like all three of them were just having a blast all the way through it? Jeff Chandler with Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. From 71 years ago, Tuesday, June 2nd, 1953. As we mentioned in our segment of things that happened on this date, the coronation of Queen Elizabeth on this date in history as well. Alrighty, coming up next on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, before My Friend Irma, starring Marie Wilson, we'll have the news from that Tuesday 73 years ago.
Hello, this is Dennis James. Here is Leo A. Hoig, Director of the Office of Civil and Defense Mobilization, who has a message for you about the importance of a home shelter for protection against radioactive fallout.
After nuclear attack, radioactive fallout could be a threat to every living thing. Tests have shown that the best protection against fallout is an underground shelter covered by at least 3 feet of earth. A basement shelter also affords good protection by closing off windows, exterior entrances, and banking exposed walls. In homes without basements, first floor areas with the least exterior exposure, such as a bathroom, utility room, or hallway, should be selected. My own shelter costs $212. It's cheap insurance for the protection of my greatest treasure, my family.
And you can get fallout shelter information by going to civildefensemuseum.com. We are saluting this date in history, 71 years ago, June 2nd, 1953. It was a Tuesday, and these are some of the stories that made news on that Tuesday morning. A British expedition has climbed hitherto unscaled Mount Everest, the world's highest peak, peak, planting the Union Jack on the icy peak as a coronation gift to Queen Elizabeth II. That from Buckingham Palace. Word that the party fighting the snows and icy blasts on the world's rooftop had reached their goal in a third attempt within a month. Reached the palace last night, that a spokesman from the palace said. The dramatic news relayed to the Queen as final preparations were made to crown her in Westminster Abbey today. Roaring, cheering crowds in the hundreds of thousands jammed the gorgeously panoplied streets of London as Coronation Day broke clear and cold. Bright stars shone down, breaking through rain clouds, which last night had drenched the loyal throngs waiting to cheer their beauteous queen as she rides later today in a golden coach to her crowning at Westminster Abbey. In other news of the day, Congressman Yorty, the Democrat of California, said last night Defense Department is backing down on its proposed cut in the nation's air power, and Pentagon military chiefs are edging back toward a 143-wing goal for the Air Force. The California legislator made the statement to newsmen after conferring with Air Force Secretary Harold Talbot. A storm of protest has arisen in Congress over the Eisenhower administration's proposal to trim some $5 billion off the military budget recommendations from former President Truman, with most of the cutback being borne by the Air Force. Senator Nolens, the Republican of California, said last night if truce negotiations with the communists collapsed, the U.S. should expand the Korean fighting and take the calculated risk of war with Russia. Supporting proposals made by Senator Taft, the Republican of Ohio, and rejected by President Kennedy, Nolan says he does not believe the Allied armistice offered to the communists will produce a truce with honor because it would leave Korea divided. South Korea reported yesterday to be insisting on a mutual defense agreement with the U.S. It was said to be part of President Syngman Rhee's price for withdrawing his opposition to the truce terms laid down by the United Nations. Authoritative source told the Associated Press Rhee has informed this nation his country would quit opposing the UN truce terms only if President Eisenhower signed a 4-point agreement pledging that the U.S. would sign a mutual defense pact with South Korea, agree not to try to keep South Korea from unifying all of Korea, keep up large-scale military and economic aid shipments to South Korea, and see to it that all foreign forces leave Korea once a truce is signed and prisoners are exchanged. Secretary of the Treasury Humphrey yesterday told Congress hungering for a tax cut, losses in federal revenue now would be an unsafe gamble with the nation's security. With that plea, Humphrey urged the reluctant House and Ways and Means Committee to get behind President Eisenhower's request to extend the excess profit tax on businesses for 6 months until the end of 1953. But Humphrey said the administration definitely plans to let a 10% cut in individual income taxes go into effect next January 1st, as provided under present law. Down Miami Beach way, Captain Manuel J. Fernandez Jr., the world's second leading jet ace, came against the hard facts of civilian life yesterday. He got a parking ticket. His mother, Mrs. Effie Fernandez, and he only stopped for a 10-minute visit with friends. When he came out, the car had a parking ticket on it. New traffic regulations prohibit fixing parking tickets even for celebrities. So newsmen at City Hall took up a collection, and they paid the $1 fine. In Gaffney, South Carolina, the popularity of a certain former president very apparent in Cherokee County. On the list of names of draftees to receive physical exams in Gaffney June 12th are Franklin Delano Callahan, Franklin Delano Roosevelt Tate, Franklin Delano Wise, Franklin Roosevelt Knuckles, Franklin Delano Littlejohn, and Franklin Delano Wall. And from Paris, all his life, Emile Warlin, a mason from the north of France, has wanted to ascend the Eiffel Tower. As he presented his ticket for the trip, the 64-year-old structure up there, the ticket taker stopped him and said, "You're the 25 millionth visitor to the Eiffel Tower. You've won this deluxe automobile which goes with the event." Warren accepted the machine in rather stunned fashion and then said, "Thank you. Still like to go up the tower." So he did. Those some of the day's news stories from Tuesday, June 2nd, 1953. On your radio, in addition to Dean and Jerry, coming up next, an Armed Forces recording of My Friend Irma from 71 years ago today. That's up next on this Sunday, Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
This is Dennis James, the Office of Civil and Defense Mobilization, who has a message for you about the importance of a home shelter for survival in the nuclear age.
After a nuclear attack, any kind of cover will offer you some protection from radioactive fallout. An ordinary frame house will cut the radiation danger in half. For greater safety during an attack, get on the ground floor, away from doors or windows. A basement shelter offers even more protection, and an underground shelter with 3 feet of earth over it will give almost complete fallout protection. Give your family the best possible protection. Prepare a fallout shelter now. Free plans are available for building home shelters. Write to Post Office Box, Home Shelter, Battle Creek, Michigan, or contact your local Civil Defense office.
Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now we have an episode of My Friend Irma starring Marie Wilson to wrap up our salute to this date 71 years ago, Tuesday, June 2nd, 1953. And we hear the story of Laughing Boy in this Armed Forces recording.
My Friend Irma, created by Cy Howard, transcribed from Hollywood, and starring Marie Wilson as Irma and Kathy Lewis as Jane.
Peterson is a girl, let me describe her this way. She walks around like she's got the world on a string, but she can't remember where she put it. Cookie.
Oh, Jane, wait until I tell you.
Now, just take it easy. Take it easy. You know how rattled you get when you're excited.
All right, I'll be calm.
Good. Now, what's it all about?
Well, you know my boss, Mr. Clyde, is married.
Of course I know.
Well, now they have a horse.
A horse?
Yes, after all these years.
What are you talking about?
Well, Mr. Clyde's always wanted a racehorse, and he bought one.
Yeah, well, go on, honey. I think I'm starting to make contact with you.
Well, this Saturday, Mrs. Clyde has invited us all to be her guests at the racetrack.
Oh, yeah? Isn't that nice?
Yes. Mrs. Clyde says we're going to watch their horses run in a box.
I see.
I suppose poor Mr. Clyde spent so much money on the horse he can't afford seats, and we'll all have to sit on boxes.
No, honey, it's not that kind of a box.
Oh.
Tell me, what's the name of Mr. Clyde's horse?
Well, his name is Laughing Boy, and I'm sure he's going to win. You know, as they say at the track, he'll come in on his nose.
Oh, yes, I see you know all the terminology.
Well, naturally, Jane. I should know all about horses. We had plenty of them on our farm in Minnesota.
Oh, did you?
Yes. Why, many a morning I ran into the house screaming, "Daddy, come into the barn. The old gray mare's just had another calf."
Irma, that's colt.
Oh, Jane, you know so little about these things. A colt is a boy, a calf is a girl.
Mm-hmm. What's a stallion?
Oh, it's a little white onion with a long green top.
I guess we learn things all the time, you know? Yeah.
Glad to help.
You know, Cookie, the more I think about going to the races on Saturday, the more excited I get. Of course, I've never won in my life.
Well, of course, you have to have a system. Now, when Laughing Boy runs, I think I'll bet him room and board.
That's across the board. It means you bet win, place, and show. You understand?
Well, naturally, I'm sure if he shows up at the right place, he'll win.
No. No, that's not quite it, honey. Win means first, place is second, and show means he came in third. Irma, now tell me the truth. I know you were raised on a farm with horses, but have you actually ever been to a horse race?
Oh, just once.
You understood everything that went on?
Why, certainly. What do you mean?
Well, for instance, did you see them take a horse into the winner's circle and put a wreath of flowers around its neck?
Oh, did that mean he won the race?
Well, sure, certainly. Why do you think they put the wreath of flowers around his neck?
Oh, I thought he just got back from Honolulu.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Cookie, since you don't know your way around and I don't know my way around...
Well, maybe the maestro and Mrs. O'Reilly can advise us. Mrs. Clyde wants me to invite them, too.
Oh, that's great. That's what I'm saying. Why don't we take all of our money and put it in a pool?
No, Jenny, we're invited to the track. Why should we go swimming?
Honey. Just tell me how much money have you that you'd like to bet?
Well, about $10. $4 I'd like to bet on horses that pay about 40 to 1.
I see.
And the rest I'd like to bet on long shots.
Come in.
If you don't mind, it's me, Maestro Wanderkin. Hello, Janie and Irma, my two musical masterpieces. One a Strauss waltz, the other the Nutcracker Suite.
Oh, well, Maestro, how much money have you got?
Money? You mean the money I have on me, or the money I keep hidden under my mattress, or the money I have in the bank?
Well, all together.
$7.42. That's not including government securities.
Government securities?
Yeah, I have 3 2-cent stamps I haven't even touched yet.
You must forgive Irma, Maestro. It's her enthusiasm. Mr. and Mrs. Clyde have invited us to the racetrack this Saturday, and this includes you and Mrs. O'Reilly.
Oh, isn't that nice of them?
Yes, Mr. Clyde has a horse called Laughing Boy, and I think we all better bet on him.
Well, it all depends on how he got his name. Does he laugh after the race, or does he stop to laugh at horses in front of him?
That's a good question. Maestro, do you go to the track often?
Often? I wouldn't say that. Naturally, being a musician, like all true musicians, horse racing is below our cultural level. We haven't got time to take our mind from the classics for such nonsense.
Oh, well, I understand Laughing Boy is going to run 1.25 miles.
1.25 miles, I should do it in 2:10. The track record is 2:06, going off at 5 to 1, pay about 10.30 win, 6.40 place, and 2:10 to show, barring photo finishes on a muddy track.
I thought musicians didn't know about horse racing.
Oh. This is just some dialogue I picked up on a sheet of music from the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse.
Yeah. Maestro, you're not fooling anybody, and I'm with you. How's your luck?
Well, sometimes it's not bad. Last year, what a streak of luck I had. I won the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh race. If I had any money left, I would have won the 8th race, too.
Well, Jane said we should all take our money and put it in the water.
She means pool our money.
Well, that's a good idea. We'll have a bigger bankroll to start with. Irma, tell me, have you seen this horse, Laughing Boy?
Yes, he has the same brown eyes that my Al has.
Do they shift from side to side, too?
Wait a minute, that's a hunch. If this horse is anything like Al, we have to bet on him.
Well, what do you mean?
Have you ever seen Al take off? I once saw him running away from his landlady, and I guarantee he did the mile in less than a minute.
Well, we'll leave it up to you, Maestro. Irma's putting up $10, and I'm putting up 10. It'll be up to you to put up...
Put your arms around me, honey. Hold me tight. Cuddle up and huddle up with all your might.
Listen to that, Mrs. O'Reilly. Put your arms around me, she says. Who can she find with arms 10 feet long?
Yoo-hoo! Anybody home?
Come on in.
Hello, girls. Hello, Maestro, dear boy.
Good evening.
I'm afraid you have competition. When I brought the ash cans out this morning, Mr. Sweeney from across the street whistled at me.
Well, I hate to dash your hopes to the rocks, Mrs. O'Reilly, but he broke his glasses last night, and he only whistled at you because he thought you were the truck, and he wanted you to pick up his ashes, too.
Now, don't you go making any remarks about me. Oh, by the way, girls, how do you like the way I'm wearing my hair?
Oh, that's very nice.
Oh, that reminds me you're invited to the horse races this Saturday, Mrs. O'Reilly.
Yeah, to see the other bang-tails.
Now, what's this all about?
Mr. Clyde bought a racehorse, and Mrs. Clyde has invited us all to the track this Saturday.
Oh, glory be. I haven't seen a horse race since I was a little girl in Ireland. Every year we'd go to see the running of the Irish sweepstakes.
Sweepstakes?
Yes, and Irma, don't bother asking if the horses run with brooms.
Are you going to be doing any betting?
Oh, sure. Why?
Well, I don't know how to describe it, but I have a way of talking to horses.
Well, I guess if you can't get anyone else to converse with, you have to resort to that.
Joe, did you know that you can tell a horse's age by counting his teeth?
I know.
Well, one more remark from you and you'll be counting yours in your hand.
Now, come on. Let's not get into any arguments. I want us all to have a good time at the races. Personally, I'm very excited about the whole thing.
Oh, so am I.
By the way, Irma, do you know who the jockey is going to be?
No, but I hope it's Mickey Rooney. I once saw him riding 3 races, and he won them all.
Well, what movie was that?
It was the same one. It was raining outside, so I saw the picture over and over, and he won every time.
Too bad you couldn't have placed a bet. You would have cleaned up.
I know. I looked all over for an usher.
I'll bet. Come in.
Hiya, folks. Hello, Chicken.
Hello, Al, honey.
What's new, Chicken?
Well, Mr. Clyde has a horse running Saturday, and he's invited all of us to be his guests at the track.
Chicken, your boss owns a racehorse?
Yeah. Oh, and he's the sweetest thing.
Now, wait. Just happened to have a racing form on the inside of my shoes. Now, wait a minute. You say the horse's name is Laughing Boy?
That's right.
Here it is. Laughing Boy. Out of Sleepy Valley by Rip Van Winkle. Sounds like a real peppy family.
Has he won any races?
Let me see. According to this, the only race he won is when he beat the trainer to the feed bag.
But Mr. Clyde wouldn't buy any old animal. He's very particular. Remember what I went through before he hired me?
Now, let me look at this nag's record. Let's see. In his first race, he came in second. In the second race, he came in third. The third race, he came in fourth. The fourth race, he didn't show up. The fifth race, he finished first, but that was really in the sixth race. You know something? This don't seem as good as government bonds.
Well, maybe the horse is just a curious type.
Curious?
Yeah, you know, the kind of a horse who always stays in a position so he can see if all the other horses are wearing tails, too.
Chicken, I want you to find out a few things about Laughing Boy for me.
What, Al?
Well, for instance, find out if he's a hay burner who likes a fast track. Or is he a nag who likes to hug the rail? Or is he a good mudder?
All right, I'll ask Mr. Clyde.
Now, what are you going to ask him?
Is he a fast trail burner who likes to hug the hay, and is he good to his mudder?
No, Chicken. Look, why is it every time I put some plain, sensible words in your head, it comes out like it was in a free-for-all fight and you lost?
Al, why don't you just stop trying to work angles? We're all going to go to the track to have fun, and that's all.
Sure.
Okay.
We'll all do all right. Gee, I better get to work. Mr. Clyde may be expecting me to come in early today.
Why? What do you mean?
Well, last night when I locked up the office, I'm not sure whether he left first or I left first. Mr. Clyde?
Good morning. How are you, Miss Peterson?
Well, I'm a slow starter, but be careful in the halfway post because I really get going when you stretch me.
What are you raving about?
Well, that's racetrack talk, and I want to be ready Saturday when Laughing Boy runs.
Laughing Boy isn't running Saturday.
Why not?
Well, I'm getting rid of him. I bought a new horse, Dancing Girl. Hottest thing on 4 legs.
But what about Laughing Boy?
Oh, they sold me a lemon. He's too old. I'm getting rid of him.
Getting rid of him?
Yes, he's kaput.
Kaput?
Yeah.
Oh, well, are you selling him?
Well, not exactly.
Well, is he being put out to pasture?
Not exactly.
Well, if you're not going to sell him and you're not going to put him out to pasture...
Excited about going to the races Saturday. Really excited. Sweetie, what's bothering you?
Oh, Jane, I'm worried about Laughing Boy. Isn't there any way he could be cured?
Cured? What's he got?
Kaput.
Kaput? I never heard of it.
No, Irma, darling, this is not a disease. It's just an expression.
An expression?
Yeah, like if Mrs. O'Reilly was wearing a bathing suit, someone might say, "Here comes Sweetie Pie."
Why, Maestro.
See, it fools you. It happens to be an expression used by circus people. Sweetie Pie was the name of a famous elephant.
Why, you old flea-bitten monstrosity. You should talk with that bushy hair and long nose. You look like an anteater wearing a feather duster. That's what you do.
Oh, please, I'm worried about Laughing Boy. Jane, what do they do to horses that are too old or too sick to run anymore?
Why, I guess they either put them out to pasture or they send them to the, It's nothing for you to worry about.
Yes, there is.
There isn't, honest, honey.
It's no use, Jane. I know when you're holding something back. You always look out the window and polish your nails.
Well, what's so unusual about that?
With your gloves on?
Say, that's a pretty dress you have on. That's very becoming.
It's my slip. Please, Jane, now stop stalling and tell me the truth.
Irma, please don't bother me. I have things to do.
Maestro.
Janie, have you got a nail file?
And you, Mrs. O'Reilly, you're my friend. You'll tell me.
Well, glory be. There's only 249 days before St. Patrick's Day, and I haven't got a thing to wear. I better go out and do some shopping.
Yeah. Hey, now, wait a minute. Nobody leaves until I find out.
Oh, honey, what are you getting so upset about?
Well, none of you people know Laughing Boy, and I do. Why, I was down at the stable, and he's sweet, and he's pretty, and I know he's such a good friend that if you ever needed him, he'd work like a horse for you. Now, please, Jane, I can't forget Laughing Boy's expression. He looked me in the eye as if to say, Irma, what are they going to do with me? And I'm looking you all in the eye, just the way he looked me in the eye, and I want you to answer. What are they going to do with Laughing Boy?
Well, Irma, let me put it this way. What happens to people when they get too old?
They dye their hair red and they lie about their age.
Oh, be still.
Oh, honey. Irma, what Mrs. O'Reilly is trying to say is that, when you become old, infirm, Irma, have you ever heard of Valhalla?
Is that near Sun Valley?
Now, let me handle this because it requires delicate and tactful handling. Irma, darling, there's nothing to be excited about. I'm sure they won't send Laughing Boy to the glue factory.
Glue factory?
No, that was real delicate.
He's going to the glue factory.
Irma, darling, please listen to the old maestro.
No.
Yeah, listen, Irma, we know you feel badly about Laughing Boy. We know, but after all, you're not doing anything to him.
And according to Mr. Clyde, that new horse, Dancing Lady, looks like a sure winner. So why don't we concentrate on her and leave well enough alone?
You're cruel, all of you. That's why you don't know what this means to me. You never loved a horse or owned a horse or been around a horse.
How can you say I've never been around a horse?
Take your arm off my shoulder.
Hello? Oh, hello, Mr. Clyde. Yes, Irma's here. What? Yeah, I'll tell her. Saturday? Oh, sure, we'll be there. Thanks, bye. Sweetie, that was your boss. He wants you to come down to the office. He has some extra work to get out.
I'm not going.
Now, look.
No, I don't want to have anything to do with him. Any man who would send a sweet horse like Laughing Boy to a glue factory. Could you imagine what he'll do to me when I get too old?
Now, Cookie, you really don't know that he's going to do any such thing. I'm sure Laughing Boy will be all right. Oh, Irma, Saturday's supposed to be a gay day. Mrs. O'Reilly is right. We should plan to bet on Dancing Girl.
Yeah, you're just like all the rest. All you think about is the money.
No, Irma, it isn't that at all. It's just that Dancing Lady is a filly, and we must cheer for her because, well, like us, she's a member of the weakest sex.
Yeah. If she's as weak as you are, she'll probably pick up the grandstand and run with it.
I don't care what any of you say. I'm not going to the races, and I'm not going to work for Mr. Clyde. Mr. Clyde, that glue factory monster.
Oh, now, Irma, don't get dramatic. You have a job. Now, why don't you just go to the office and maybe Mr. Clyde will tell you what he's going to do with Laughing Boy?
All right, I'm going to put it directly to him, and believe me, if he's going to mistreat Laughing Boy, I'll report him to the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. You know, the YMCA.
Well, Miss Peterson, so you finally got here.
Well, I came as fast as I could. I grabbed the first bus I saw.
Then why has it taken you over an hour?
It was the wrong bus.
Oh, fine. Well, never mind. I've already typed the letters I wanted to dictate. Just put them in the envelopes and be sure they're glued.
Glued?
Yes, glued.
Murder.
What?
You know what I'm talking about. When you get tired of someone, you send them to be glued.
Miss Peterson, how do you get in this condition? Do you take dizzy pills every morning?
Excuse me, Mr. Clyde. I don't have to take pills. I'm not a hydromatic.
Hypochondriac. Oh, forget it. Look, I have to leave town. I won't be back until Saturday. I want you to do something for me.
Yes, Mr.
I want you to
Clyde.
go to the track and tell my trainer to enter Dancing Girl in the race.
Well, what about Laughing Boy?
I have other plans for
But,
him.
Mr. Clyde.
Some other time, Miss
Mr.
Peterson.
Clyde,
I've got a plane to
please.
catch. I'll see you at the race.
Mr.
on Saturday.
Clyde.
Bye.
But what about Laughing... She's gone. I can't let him do this to Laughing Boy. Well, this must be Laughing Boy's stall. Oh, there he is. Hello, Laughing Boy. Isn't that sweet? He recognizes me. Gee, I wish you could talk, Laughing Boy. Mr. Clyde wants to get rid of you. Just throwing him names won't help. He wants to make glue out of you. Why, if he does that, I'll never lick another stamp of my life.
What's that?
Oh, my gosh, you can talk.
Well, of course I can talk.
Oh, it's you.
Yes, my name is Henderson.
Oh, you must be Mr. Clyde's trainer.
That's right, miss. What are you doing here so early in the morning?
Well,
Is there something I can do for you?
You see, I'm Mr. Clyde's executive secretary and general Bonyface, and he sent me to tell... Hey, by the way, who's the other horse that keeps looking at Laughing Boy?
That's Dancing Girl. I haven't had orders officially yet from Mr. Clyde. I think he'd want me to race her instead of Laughing Boy.
Why?
Well, Laughing Boy just doesn't seem to have any spirit. The last workout I gave him, he barely made it to the track. What does Mr. Clyde want me to do with him?
He wants you to run him in the race.
Are you sure?
Yes, he has other plans for Dancing Girl.
I can't see why he wants to run Laughing Boy. Believe me, this nag would be laying down right now if he wasn't in such a narrow stall.
Well, don't worry, Mr. Henderson. He's what you call a sleepwalker.
Those are Mr. Clyde's order. I better go out to the office and put him in as an official entry. Bye, miss.
Bye. Now, you see what I did for you, Laughing Boy? Now you must win the race or golly, I'll lose my job. Oh, I see. You want to go over to Dancing Girl. Okay, come on. Maybe if you had something to run for. There, now you're both together. Oh, how sweet. Just like Al and me. Well, if you really want to make her proud, you'll win today.
I've never seen so many people. Maestro, you'd better hold me hand so I don't get lost.
Nothing doing. They might think I'm the jockey. This way, Janie. I see Irma.
Oh, yeah, she's with Al and Mr. Clyde. Irma!
Well, kids, I hope you put a good bet on Dancing Girl. I know that horse can't lose. There's an $8,000 purse on this race.
An $8,000 purse? I can't see why you need such an expensive pocketbook.
Hey, wait a minute. Isn't this supposed to be the race?
That's right. Ought to start any minute.
Well, I don't see Dancing Girl up on the board.
Oh, you must be mistaken. Miss Peterson.
Yes, Mr. Clyde?
Look up there at the board. They've got Laughing Boy up there instead of Dancing Girl. Miss Peterson, what have you done to me? I'm ruined. Of all the morons, I had to pick the prize, one of them all. I can't bear to look.
Mr. Clyde, look! Laughing Boy, he's gaining! He's right out in front!
You're probably mistaken. If I know Laughing Boy, he's only out in front because it's the other horse's second time around.
Go!
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my God. Look, he is winning. Miss Peterson, how did you do it?
Well, he was lonely, so I got him a girlfriend.
He won! Laughing Boy won!
Only because he was lonely.
What do you mean he was lonely, you wonderful idiot?
I married him to a dancing girl. That's why he ran so fast. He's anxious to get back for the honeymoon.
There you have it, an episode of My Friend Irma, an Armed Forces recording of the show that aired in the U.S. on this date 71 years ago, June 2nd, 1953. And that wraps up our look at that Tuesday 71 years ago. Coming up tomorrow, we'll focus on Sunday, June 3rd, 1951, with episodes of The Adventures of Archie Andrews and The Jack Benny Show, the last show of the 1951 season. We'll also hear Bob Hope from 1941 with his guest Humphrey Bogart, an episode of Fibber McGee and Molly, and another episode of the wonderful soap opera Claudia. That's coming up tomorrow. Coming up next, though, we will go to this date, June 2nd, 1940, an episode of The Jell-O Show starring Jack Benny.
This is Dennis James. Civil defense preparedness is important to all of us living in today's nuclear age. For information on what you can do to protect your home and family, here is a message from Leo A. Hoig, Director of the Office of Civil and Defense Mobilization.
After an enemy attack on this country, even if your city is not bombed, the radioactive fallout may be so intense that you will have to remain inside your shelter for 2 weeks. Therefore, your shelter should be stocked with a 2-week supply of food, water, and other essential items. Choose foods that will provide a well-balanced diet. Canned fruits, meats, soups, vegetables, packaged cereals, dried foods are a few examples of good energy-building foods that can be stored. Remember, a family prepared aids the community and strengthens the nation in time of war. Make sure you do your part.
I'm Wyatt Cox. Classic Radio Theater continues now with an episode of The Jack Benny Show from 84 years ago, June 2nd, 1940, The Code of the Hills.
J-E-L-L-O. The Jell-O program starring Jack Benny with Mary Livingston, Phil Harris, Dennis Day, and yours truly, Don Wilson. The orchestra opens the program with I Hear Bluebirds. How true, ladies and gentlemen, is that old saying you hear every June about happy the bride the sun shines upon? Well, that's a question we really can't answer, but we do know a saying you can depend on, and it goes like this. Happy the bride who always keeps a plentiful supply of Jell-O on the pantry shelf. For Jell-O, friends, is a grand dessert that's wonderfully quick and easy to make, as well as inexpensive to serve, and every bride will appreciate that. Jell-O's downright pleasure to eat, too, and every husband will go for that. Yes, with a bright, shimmering mold of Jell-O on the table, contentment reigns supreme. Those 6 brilliant colors are all just as gay and enticing as can be, from the rich, glowing crimson that makes you think of fresh, ripe raspberries to cool emerald green lime. And those 6 delicious flavors are gloriously good, extra rich, and just as refreshing and beguiling as the juicy, ripe fruit itself. So try some Jell-O real soon. And when you buy, be sure to look for those big red letters on the box. They spell Jell-O, and Jell-O spells a treat. I Hear Bluebirds, played by the orchestra. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we bring you our master of ceremonies,
A man who had his option picked up last Sunday and now looks 10 years younger, Jack Benny.
Thank you. Hello again. This is Jack Benny talking. And, Don, the fact that I'm in good spirits today and look younger has nothing to do with my contract being renewed. I'm always this way.
Now, wait a minute, Jack. When our sponsor came to your house for dinner last Sunday, you were a wreck.
Who, me?
Why, I never saw anyone so jittery and nervous.
Me jittery?
Yes, you. Until Mr. Mortimer picked up your option, you made a darn fool of yourself.
What are you talking about?
All evening long it was, have a cigarette, Mr. Mortimer. Have a cigar, Mr. Mortimer. Here, take this chair, Mr. Mortimer. It's softer.
Oh, I didn't make such a fuss over him.
Go on. He happened to sneeze once, and you sent Rochester out for an oxygen tent.
Well, I just did that for a gag. What's the matter with you two?
And the way you waited on him. You wouldn't let the man do anything for himself.
What do you mean?
When his shoelace came undone, who tied it?
Mary, I happened to be down on the floor at the time. That's the only reason I did it.
Well, let me ask you something. Why were you laying on the floor in the first place?
What? What was that, Phil?
I said, why were you laying on the floor in the first place?
Phil, you should be the last one in the world to ask anybody why they're laying on the floor at a party. Why, I know bearskin rugs that lead less horizontal lives than you do. And incidentally, Phil, you might at least thank me for the good time you had last Sunday.
What good time? All we did was play bingo, and our sponsor won every game. Boy, was that oblivious.
You mean obvious. However, there was nothing obvious about it. Mr. Mortimer is lucky at bingo, that's all. I only called the numbers the way they came up.
And the way they came up shouldn't happen to a dog.
Oh, forget about it.
Frankly, Jack, I don't know what the rest of us were playing for. You let Mr. Mortimer bingo every time.
All right, so he won the salad bowl. But don't forget, he paid 25 cents a card, the same as everybody else.
And that salad bowl was a Christmas gift from Eddie Cantor.
That's a lie. I got it for my birthday from Olson and Johnson. Boy, are they cheap. Just because they're a team, they give one present. And incidentally, fellas, it seems funny that you can all criticize and complain, yet not one of you has the courtesy to mention the delicious food I served. Why, you guys all ate like it was your last meal.
Well, until he picked up your option, Jackson, we weren't sure.
Maybe you weren't, Phil, but I wasn't the least bit worried. I knew I was going to be signed up for next season 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago?
Yes, I had definite information.
Oh, you and that phony fortune teller.
Phony? Mary, there's nothing phony about Madame Zuzu. She clicks like a castanet. Why, she's marvelous.
Oh, yeah? 4 years ago, she told me I was going to marry Robert Taylor. Robert Taylor, she said.
All right, so she misses once in a while.
Why did you have to miss on that one?
It was just fate, that's all. Even a crystal ball has an off day now and then.
Hey, wait a minute. Madame Zuzu. You know, I went to her place once.
You did, Phil?
Yeah, she told me I was bashful. Ain't that a Lulu?
Bashful, you of all people.
And she was sitting on my lap at the time. I can't understand
it. Me neither.
I'd like to take that crystal ball and hit her over the head with it.
Mary, will you forget about Robert Taylor? And speaking of Madame Zuzu, fellas, if you knew what she told me about my movie career, you'd all be plenty excited.
What did she tell you, Jack?
Never mind. You'll read it in the paper next winter.
Come on, Jackson, tell us.
No, nothing doing. It's a secret.
Okay.
Now, wait a minute. Madame Zuzu looked in the crystal, and guess who's going to win the Academy Award next year? Guess who?
She ought to be rated.
All right, just for that, Mary, you're not going with me to the Academy banquet and hear my acceptance speech.
Your acceptance speech?
Yes, I'm preparing it now.
Well, don't write anything that you can't switch to a letter to your father.
We'll see. I wouldn't laugh too soon.
By the way, Jack, not changing the subject, but while Madame Zuzu was giving you the lowdown on your option, did she mention who's going to be your announcer next season?
Well, I imagine you're the lucky man, Don, although there wasn't room for you in the crystal. But, I'm sure you're set, and we'll have the same little comedienne, eh, Mary?
Darn it, and I picked out linen and dishes and everything.
Mary, will you forget about Robert Taylor? Anyway, Don.
Forget, he says.
Mary. Anyway, Don, it looks like we'll have the same old gang again next year. Madame Zuzu saw all of us together in her crystal ball.
She better see a lot more of that green stuff in there. You can count me out.
What do you mean?
Well, I want a raise. I started to work for you 4 years ago, and I'm still getting the same lousy salary.
Well, you got the same lousy band. I have a motto, Phil. As ye play, so shall I pay.
Now, wait a minute. What's wrong with my band?
What's wrong? You've got 3 violins that no one's ever heard. A guitar player who got his strings from a yo-yo top. Two piano players that have to put a nickel in for every number. And a brass section that must have a sideline. And you asked for more money.
Well, there's no harm trying.
All right, you tried. Incidentally, Phil, I've got your contract here in my pocket. So right after the broadcast, I want you to put your usual X on the dotted line. I understand?
I can print Phil Harris now.
I know. I saw it all over the wall. Stop showing off. Well, I guess that takes care of our contract problems for next season.
You haven't straightened things out with me yet, Mr. Benny.
Oh, hello, Dennis. I thought I mailed you a contract to sign.
You did, but my mother tore it up.
Oh. Well, I'll tell you what, Dennis. Supposing you and I go in the other room and talk matters over about next season, I guess we can come to an agreement.
Well, my mother says...
Come along, Dennis. Now, Phil, while we're in the other room transacting a deal, how about playing a number?
Okay, you great big businessman.
Come along, Dennis, my boy.
Well, my
Come along now.
Oh, Phil.
What?
Play loud so we can't hear Dennis screaming.
That was Alice Bluegown, played by Phil Harris and his orchestra. And very good, Phil. Say, Mary, is Jack in the other room yet?
Yep, he's still talking business with Dennis.
The kid must be holding out.
Yeah, I'm going to open the door and listen.
Oh, now, wait a minute, Mary. That isn't ethical.
Ethical schmethical. Let's listen in, babe.
I will. Now, quiet.
Sure, Dennis, sure. I know you're worth it, but that's a little too steep.
Well, my mother says that next year I ought to get $500 a week.
500, eh?
Uh-huh.
Well, I'll tell you what, Dennis.
They're still at it, boys.
How's Dennis making out?
He's in the neighborhood of 500, but I don't think he'll move in there.
You know, that Benny's terrific. You know, he's the guy that started the second cup of coffee is free movement.
Yeah, what a character.
Well, I think we ought to get going on with the program. See how they're coming along, Mary.
Okay.
Absolutely, Dennis. I agree with you, but my budget won't permit it.
Well, my mother
Look,
says
Dennis, look. Dennis, would you be satisfied with $250 a week?
$250? Oh, sure, that's swell.
I see. Well, now look, Dennis, you're young yet, and you've got your whole future ahead of you. I'll tell you what I'll do.
Well, it's still going on.
What's the latest report?
Ceiling 500, vision 250. It looks bad.
Why don't the kid walk out on him?
He can't. Jack's sitting on his chest. It looks like an all-day session. Now, quiet, everybody.
You're right, Dennis. You're absolutely right. But $85 a week is a lot of money. After all, you're just a kid.
I can't breathe. Move down a little, will you?
I'm sorry, Dennis. Now, let's talk this over carefully. I'm sure we can get together. I'll tell you what.
Well, that beats everything.
What's the figure now, Mary?
85, and they haven't struck bottom.
I never saw a guy as tight as Jack. You remember that Gladys Zabisco he used to go with?
Yeah?
Well, he broke up with her because she took appetite pills.
And he was nuts about her, too. Well, here goes for another peek. Quiet now, fellas.
Okay, Dennis, it's a deal. $37.50 a week. Sign right here on the dotted line.
What's going on here?
Dennis, please. Here's the pen. Sign right here.
Well, I ought to speak to my mother first.
All right. Now, here's what you tell her.
It's the last round, and Dennis is on the ropes.
What was Jack's final offer?
$37.50 a week.
$37.50? Why, the kid's getting $37 now.
Yeah, but I guess Jack feels he ought to have a raise. You know.
Well, let's go ahead with the program, fellas. We're all set, eh, Dennis?
Yeah, I guess so.
Hey, Dennis, what did Jackson offer you for next season?
Well, I'm going to
Don't tell him, Dennis. Don't tell him. We don't want the others to be jealous of you.
Holy smoke. Am I making more money than they are?
Could be. Could be.
You know what, Jack?
What?
You save more money by accident than Harry Lauder does on purpose.
Oh, yeah? Well, Mary, I'd be quiet if I were you. Madame Zuzu looked in the crystal the other day, and you were wrapping up a pair of stockings. And now, Dennis, now that everything has been smoothed out to our mutual satisfaction, how about singing a nice song for us?
Okay.
What's it going to be, Dennis?
I'm going to sing...
Hold it a minute. I'll take it. Hello?
Hello, Mr. Benny. This is Rochester.
Oh, it's you. Rochester, if you'd listened to the program, you wouldn't always call up and interrupt in the middle of it. Why don't you tune in once in a while?
Well, frankly, boss, you don't do the kind of stuff that intrigues me.
I know. You won't listen to any program where you don't tear something off, send it in, and get something back. Now, what do you want? What's on your mind?
Well, boss, you know Hollywood Park Racetrack opened last Thursday.
Yes?
And you know how cheap oats are right now.
Oats? What are you driving at?
I bought a racehorse. Can I keep him in the garage?
You bought a racehorse? Rochester, how can you possibly afford to buy a horse on your salary?
Well, I paid $2 down, and I got 30 days to raise the other $1,800.
You mean you have to raise $1,800 in 30 days?
Yeah, ain't that fantastic?
It certainly is. How are you going to get that much money in one lump?
My back pay would do it.
Rochester, if you're referring to your investment in the Benny Protective and Endowment Association... that doesn't mature until you're 40.
I'll be 40 tomorrow.
That's a lie! Now, Rochester, you take that horse back to wherever you got it. There's no room for it in the garage.
There is now. I put the Maxwell out in the street for the summer.
Well, put it right back in again. I don't want my car out in the street. Somebody will come along and steal it.
I'd like to get a picture of that. I could sell it to Pick, Click, or Flick.
Rochester, I'm not going to argue with you. Now, you get rid of that broken-down nag.
He ain't a broken-down nag. He won over 100 races.
Won?
All right, run.
That's more like it. Now, you do as I say. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Oh, by the way, boss.
What is it now?
I don't like Section 8, Paragraph D of my new contract.
What's wrong with it? Section 8 says you get $30 a week.
I know, but Paragraph D says a week is 14 days.
I'm trying out something new. Anyway, we'll discuss that when I get home. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
The idea of buying a racehorse. He'll probably have me out in the morning clocking it. He'll never get up. Well, sing, Dennis. Don't stand there like a dodo.
The night that you surrendered to a sigh, where was I? The moment came, but what a shame that someone else came by. Where was I waited long for you. My love was strong for you. I sang love song, do you recall? One night you learned to care. It wasn't my affair. I wasn't even there at all. Oh, where was I the night that you surrendered to a sigh? Where was I? The moon was high the night that you first listened to a lie. Where was I always felt that you would melt in someone's arms some night. And I was right. The moment came, but what a shame that someone else came by. Where was I?
A racehorse he has to have. Oh, well. That was Where Was I, sung by Dennis Day, who I'm sure will be with us for many years to come. Yes, sir.
If I ever get smart, watch out.
Now, Dennis, you say one more thing like that, and I'm going to take you in the next room and give you a good talking to.
Boy, will he be flat-chested.
Never mind. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for our feature attraction tonight, Mr. Don Wilson, that eminent American playwright, has written another of his famous one-act plays, a hillbilly melodrama entitled The Code of the Hills, or Shoot Me in the Pants, Zeke, the rest is store clothes. Set the scene, Mr. Wilson.
Gladly. The locale, ladies and gentlemen, is the cabin of the Jake Bennies in a remote section of the Ozarks. The Jake Bennies are in the midst of a feud with their longtime enemies and neighbors, the Fudd Allens.
Oh, pardon me, Don. I would like to announce, folks, that any resemblance between the Fudd Allen in our play and the Fred Allen of radio is purely intentional. If he's not a hillbilly, I never saw one. Go ahead, Don.
It is 6 o'clock in the evening, and the shooting has been going on all day. Curtain, music.
Put that gun away, Pa. Supper's a-waiting.
Be right there, Ma.
A shooting and a killing, a shooting and a killing. When is it going to stop?
We ain't gonna quit till them Allens are wiped out. There ain't room in these yah hills for the both of us.
You said it, Pappy.
Get away from them doors, Zeb.
Say, Pa, what have you uns got again the Fudd Allens?
I'll tell you what I got agin him. One night I asked Fudd how many hairs on a monkey's face. And he said, the next time you shave, count 'em. He knew I couldn't count. Well, I ain't a-cheering for that kind of city talk, and I ain't forgetting. Hey, son, barricade that double door.
Ooh, Pappy.
Son.
They got me, Pappy. They got me.
What was that, Pa?
They uns got our boy, Zeb. Shot him right through the doors.
I didn't know he was a-wearing them.
I'll get them Allens for this. Kids don't grow on bushes. No, siree.
I'm a-going, Pappy. I'm a-getting weaker and weaker. Goodbye, Pappy. Goodbye, Ma.
Goodbye. Well, what do we got for supper, Ma?
Lunch.
Good. Dish it out.
Howdy, Uncle Jake.
Hello there, Twitch.
Hey, Twitch, you shouldn't be walking around with your left arm shot up like that.
Well, I've been a-seeking some cord to tie it up with. It keeps a-falling off.
You know, Twitch, I don't like the way that arm of yours keeps a-dropping off. It might be ailing. What's that you got under your other arm?
My right leg.
Oh. Well, put it in the umbrella stand and come to supper. Sit down. Doggone, I wish them Allens would hold off till we get through eating.
I'm a-going, Pappy. I'm a-going.
Take your time, son. Pass the coffee, Ma.
Hey, Jake, what happened to Cousin Zeb?
One of the Allens plugged him. Have some coffee, Twitch. Doggone, don't those Allens know it's supper time? By the way, Ma, where's our daughter, Linda Lou, Nettie Mae, Lily Bell, Harvest Moon? Where is she?
She went down to the village to buy a girdle. Had her heart set on it.
A girdle?
Oh, boy, we can have some hot cakes.
That's griddle! What's a girdle, Ma?
Something them city gals are wearing. It's like a sweater, only it snaps at you.
By gum, what'll they be thinking up next? Here she is now. Hello, Linda Lou, Nettie Mae, Lily Bell, Harvest Moon.
Hello, Pappy. Hello, Ma. Hello, Lindy Lou, Nettie Bell. Lily Mae. Nettie Mae. Oh, nuts. Hello.
We uns have been a-worrying about you, gal. You shouldn't be out of doors at a time like this.
Why not? Them Allens couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
No, but they could hit yours. Sit down, gal.
Say, Uncle Jake.
What is it, Tweet?
Look out the window. Ain't that one of them Allens sneaking up on us?
Either that or a polecat. Give me my rifle, Ma.
Watch out,
He missed me.
Oh, yeah? Where's your ear?
Doggone, and I wanted to hear the Fitch bandwagon. Come on, Twitch, grab a gun. That'll teach them bombings.
I wish Thans and we would stop this darn feud.
Not Fud Allen. He's a feudin'est man in these hills. I wonder what makes him so feudy. I don't know. Hey, Ma, pass me the sugar. Doggone them. Pick up that spoon, Ma.
Never mind, I'll get you another one.
I want that one. My hand's on it. Thanks.
A shooting and a killing, a shooting and a killing. How many more pages to this play?
Can't be many. Here comes Porky Wilson now. Hello, Porky.
Hello, Jake. Say, what happened to Zeb?
Them Allens done plugged him. And none of us ain't safe till this feud is over.
I am. I'm so big they're scared to shoot at me. Why, them Allens is as yellow as
banana.
And speaking of bananas, ladies and gentlemen, do you realize how marvelous they are when sliced over a dish of tempting and appetizing...
Now, hold on now, Wilson. Did you write this play just to get that in?
This gelatin dessert is not only economical and easy to make, but comes in 6 delicious flavors.
Why, you...
So look for the big red letters on the box. They spell...
Take that!
They spell Jell-O.
I missed it.
J-E-L-L... Oh!
That got him.
I'm a-going, Jake. I'm a-going.
Me too.
Well, that's all for tonight, folks. Will the Jake Bennies win the feud? Will the Fud Allens be wiped out? Will Porky Wilson recover?
I don't know. Hey, Clem, will Porky Wilson recover? I don't know. Hey, Steak, will Porky Wilson recover? I don't know. Hey, Steak!
Let us go. It's not important. My goodness. Play, Phil.
Today, ladies and gentlemen, your grocer offers you 2 great Jell-O products. Jell-O, America's favorite gelatin dessert, and Jell-O puddings, the country's newest dessert sensations. Ever since Jell-O puddings came on the market, they've been steadily climbing in popularity. In fact, right in your own neighborhood, any night in the week, I'll bet you'll find a lot of families sitting down to enjoy a tempting Jell-O pudding dessert for dinner. You've all enjoyed Jell-O, I know. Now enjoy these new members of the Jell-O family, Jell-O butterscotch, chocolate, and vanilla puddings. Tomorrow, do what thousands of other folks do, and when you ask your grocer for Jell-O, ask him also for those delicious new desserts, Jell-O puddings.
This is the National Broadcasting Company.
84 years ago, June 2nd, 1940, Jack Benny here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Visit our webpage, classicradio.stream. Stream our shows. Learn about building a classic radio collection of your own. You can find our social media links there. You can buy me a copy or buy something to support our podcast. That's at classicradio.stream. Now let's move up 12 years to June 2nd, 1952, an episode of Suspense starring Jack Benny.
This is Dennis James. Here is Leo A. Hoig, Director of the Office of Civil and Defense Mobilization, who has a message for you about the importance of a home shelter for survival in the nuclear age.
Even though tomorrow's weapon delivery systems will travel at fantastic speeds, there will always be time to seek shelter from fallout. The important thing is you must have a shelter ready before attack. An underground shelter will give you excellent protection from fallout. Your basement will offer good protection if windows and walls are properly shielded. To help you build your fallout shelter, the Office of Civil and Defense Mobilization has prepared a detailed publication called Family Fallout Shelter. For your free copy, write to Post Office Box, Home Shelter, Battle Creek, Michigan, or contact your local Civil Defense office.
And you can find out all that information by going to CivilDefenseMuseum.com, CivilDefenseMuseum.com. This would be Jack Benny's second appearance on Suspense. His first appearance was one in 1951, in April, Murder in G-Flat. He would appear 2 more times. His third appearance would be in 1953 in February with an episode entitled Plan X, where Benny played a Martian, and the final appearance would be The Face is Familiar in 1954. And that one was truly, truly very, very funny. But what we're going to do right now is bring you that second appearance, A Good and Faithful Servant, June 2nd, 1952, an episode of radio's outstanding theater of thrill Suspense, and of course, produced and directed by Elliott Lewis.
Autolite and its 98,000 dealers bring you Mr. Jack Benny in tonight's presentation of Suspense. Tonight, Autolite presents a story about a man who worked for 30 years to prepare a most unique personal retirement plan. The story is called A Good and Faithful Servant. Our star, Mr. Jack Benny.
Hello there, Harlow.
Well, the legislative luminary. How are you, Senator?
My car is giving me trouble, Harlow.
Your car? What's wrong with it, Senator?
Well, it gets going slower than a loser leaving office. It rides rougher than a tax debate and uses more gas than a 3-day filibuster.
Well, it may be spark plug trouble, Senator. Spark plugs should be checked every 3,000 to 4,000 miles, so see your nearest Autolite spark plug dealer. His exclusive Autolite plug check indicator will quickly show the exact condition of your spark plugs. If they're worn out or wrong for your style of driving, he'll recommend resistor or standard type ignition engineered Autolite spark plugs for smoother performance, quick starts, and gas savings.
Sounds like a propitious proposal, Harlow. How do I find this Autolite spark plug dealer?
Why, just phone Western Union by number and ask for Operator 25. She'll quickly tell you the name of your nearest Autolite spark plug dealer where you can get the finest spark plug service money can buy. And remember, from bumper to tail light, you're always right with Autolite. And now, with the performance of Mr. Jack Benny, Autolite presents transcribed A Good and Faithful Servant, hoping once again to keep you in suspense.
I know you've been through a lot, Mr. Fenton, but if you could just try to recall anything else about the appearance of the two.
Lieutenant, couldn't this wait? Fenton has spent 14 horrible hours locked in a vault, and while I admire his spirit and pluck in bearing up as well as he has...
I'm just trying to get something to go on, Mr. Waterman. Do you want your money back or don't you?
The welfare of my employees comes first, Lieutenant. First, last, and always.
And you're insured. Mr. Fenton.
Don't answer if you don't feel up to it, Fenton.
I don't mind, Mr. Waterman. I'm anxious to cooperate. Now, as near as I can remember...
Be sure you get this, Florence.
As near as I can remember... Of course, I had only a flash before they forced me into the vault.
We understand, Mr. Fenton.
I had the impression of one being tall, but not too tall, and the other one was shorter.
But not too short.
Exactly. And they were wearing masks, rubber masks. One had a Lionel Barrymore mask, and I think the other was Dick Tracy. It was quite a shock to see him.
Aha. The Brinks Gang, Lieutenant. The Brinks Gang to a T.
Maybe. Mr. Cartwright, would you come over here, please? Mr. Cartwright, is it the practice to keep large sums of cash on hand overnight at the store?
Well, yes, the store does a tremendous cash business, Lieutenant. Tremendous.
And yesterday was dollar day.
Thank you. Mr. Cartwright, how did it happen that Fenton was alone in the cash room when the bandits entered? Did he customarily close the vault for the night?
Well, not customarily, no. When I'm unavoidably called away from the store...
Does this happen often?
Well,
very seldom, Lieutenant. Very seldom.
But it happened yesterday. The two men walked in, put you in the vault, and walked out with a big hunk of money.
At precisely 5:56. Mr. Cartwright opened the vault this morning at 8:02.
Correct, Lieutenant. We won't know how much they got until I can make an audit.
And if there's any question, Lieutenant, of corroborating Fenton's story, I need only to say that he's been with Waterman's for 30 years, a good and faithful servant.
More exactly, Mr. Waterman, 29 years, 11 months, and 29 days. I was due to retire tomorrow before this unfortunate circumstance arose,
Nonsense, Fenton. You'll retire tomorrow. And if there's any question, Lieutenant, of Fenton's character, his honesty, his...
Yeah, sure. You can go home, Mr. Fenton. Better get some rest. If you want to duck the reporters, go out this back way.
Well, What do you think, Mr. Waterman?
Entirely up to you, my boy, entirely. But in these days of doubt, of confusion, and dishonesty in high places, I believe your simple story of courage and devotion to duty will be an inspiration everywhere.
Mr. Waterman, I am ready to face the press. They were all very nice to me. The reporters, the police, Mr. Cartwright, and especially Mr. Waterman. All that money missing. $50,000. Yet his only concern was for me. I thought that if I could afford it, I'd like to buy him some little token of gratitude. Then I thought again. In my desk at the office, there was a secret compartment, and in that compartment was $50,000. I guess I could afford it. Yoo-hoo! Mother, I'm home.
Good morning, Harold. I hope you haven't had breakfast. I've kept it hot for you.
You're not going to ask me how it went, Mother?
Oh, I heard over the radio. But I wish there'd been some way of doing it that it wouldn't have kept you out all night.
Oh, I wasn't out all night, Mother. I was in a vault.
I know you were, Harold. And if you keep on, you're going to end up with that same sinus strip your father used to have.
Oh, Mother, it was a perfectly dry, warm... Oh, never mind.
Eat your cereal, Harold. You'll feel better.
Mr. Waterman told me to take the day off, Mother. I'm not going in until tomorrow.
That was certainly big of him, after all you've done for them. How much did you get?
$50,000. It's in my desk at the office, in the drawer with the false bottom.
In your desk? Will it be safe there, Harold?
Well, no one will be looking for it.
Harold, you don't think you'll have any trouble getting the money out of your desk?
I think things will work out all right. See, according to my plan,
Harold, you see, I told you from the beginning you weren't strong enough for this type of thing.
The next morning at 8:43, I punched in at the store. Figuring 308 working days a year, that made 9,240 punches. It was a little strange to think of this being my last. I walked through the store to the elevator, past lingerie, ladies' gloves, and perfume the way I always went. But this morning was different. People looked up when I passed. They spoke to me. They knew who I was. Even the brunette in perfume smiled at me. I almost stopped, but I couldn't think of anything to say. In the elevator, one of the girls asked me how I felt. Still scared, I said, and they laughed. They wouldn't have laughed any harder for Mr. Waterman. I got out at 8, my floor, and as I went into my office, Miss Prentice, Mr. Cartwright's secretary, looked at me. 23 months and 2 days she'd been looking at the top of my head. But this morning, she looked at me. And she smiled. I guess I smiled back.
Good morning, Mr. Fenton.
Good morning, Miss Prentice. It wasn't much, but I felt it could have been a start. I was almost sorry this was my last day.
Fenton, did you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Cartwright. I heard you, Mr. Cartwright.
All right. A big workload piled up yesterday when you took off, and we haven't anyone new coming in till tomorrow. Not that I want to overload you on your last day.
An honest day's work for an honest day's pay, Mr. Cartwright.
Oh, good. I'm still trying to find out how much was taken in the holdup, so you're on your own.
I think I can tell you almost to the penny, Mr. Cartwright.
I'll make my own check. And how about the work Oh, good morning, Mr. Waterman. I was just,
Well, Fenton, back at the old desk, eh?
Well, I just didn't feel right away from it, Mr. Waterman.
Hey, I got a surprise for you this afternoon, Fenton. Going to make a little ceremony out of your retirement.
A ceremony?
Good for store morale. Right, Cartwright?
Oh, absolutely, Mr. Waterman, absolutely.
And about that request of yours you made last week, Fenton, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if we can swing it.
Oh, you're too kind, Mr. Waterman.
Oh, my boy, when you work for Waterman's 30 years, you've got something coming to you.
No. Really? I ate my usual lunch that day, the Thursday Blue Plate Special at Elmo's Grotto. 70 cents plus the usual 10% tip. 7 cents. With the usual 20 minutes left in my lunch hour, I headed for the park with a nickel bag of peanuts. The squirrels were going to miss me. No, Mr. Waterman. You've had 3 already. Give Mr. Cartwright a chance. Sit up, Mr. Cartwright. Sit. That's it. That's it.
Excuse me. Would you mind if I join you, Mr. Fenton?
Why, Miss Prentice, of course. I mean, of course not. Sit down, sit down.
Thank you.
Move over, Mr. Waterman.
He does look a little pompous, doesn't he? Which one is Mr. Cartwright?
There, with the small mustache. He bites.
And, is there a Miss Prentice?
Well, there is, but I believe she is, well...
Nesting?
Well...
How long have you been feeding them, Mr. Fenton? They seem so friendly.
30 years, Miss Prentice. My favorite animal. You give a squirrel a nut, and does he eat it? No. He runs away and stores it in a hole. We could all benefit from their example.
And now that you've stored your little nest egg, you're retiring, Mr. Fenton.
Well, you might say that, yes.
You're quite a fascinating character, Mr. Fenton.
Me?
I'm sorry I didn't know you sooner. You know, the whole store is talking about your ordeal in that vault.
Oh, it wasn't so bad. In fact, I've always rather liked the vault.
What an odd thing to say.
Well, chacun est son goût, Miss Prentice. That's French for each to his own taste.
Oh, you've been abroad, Mr. Fenton.
Me? Oh, my goodness, no.
Oh, but you will now that you're retiring.
No, I've got my eye on a little cottage by a lake and woods. Lots of squirrels there. And no time clocks.
You and your wife?
Mother.
Oh, I hope you get it, Mr. Fenton.
Thank you, Miss Prentice.
I wonder what the robbers are going to do with all that money.
I wonder. 5-1. Shall we go back and punch in, Miss Prentice? She let me walk all the way back to the store with her. And in the elevator, Mr. Bixler, Sporting Goods, winked at me. Funny, for 10 years I'd had the feeling Mr. Bixler didn't like me. There was quite a gathering in the cashier's office when we arrived. All the executives from Mr. Waterman's down, and the editor of the store paper wandering through Waterman's. I'd sent an item to him last summer. Mr. Fenton of Cashier's Department spending his 2-week vacation at home. But he never printed it.
Well, come in, Fenton. We've been waiting for our, shall we say, guest of honor.
Me, Mr. Waterman?
You, Fenton. We have a little ceremony which I'd hoped to conclude before the lunch hour was over.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Waterman.
Think nothing of it. This is your day, Fenton, your day. Oh, going to get a shot of the two of us, Wolf?
Yes, sir, Mr. Waterman. Over by the door.
Oh, if you don't mind, I'd like it sitting at my desk. I feel more, secure there.
By your desk. How's this? Got it? Good. And now, Fenton, we all say farewell to a good and faithful servant, one who has given 30 years of his life as a contribution, however small, to making Waterman's the great institution it is today. Well done, Harold Fenton.
Thank you.
A modest man, but conscientious. His regular comings and goings passed almost unknown to many until his ordeal of 2 days ago. Locked all night in the vault by brutal and rapacious thieves. A night in which, in his own words, he relived each and every day of his 30-year service to Waterman's. Oh, greater devotion hath no man.
Oh, it was nothing, really.
And now, his labor's done, his burden borne, Fenton will live out the rest of his days in ease and comfort, because he has arrived at the retirement age of the Waterman pension plan, by which he will receive...
$31.68 a month.
$31.68 a month for as long as he lives.
Thank you.
And now, a little surprise for Harold Fenton. A week ago, in a letter to me, our good and faithful servant asked that on his retirement he be given permission to purchase for his home his old desk.
Well, actually, Mr. Waterman, I don't know what I'd do without it.
Oh, frankly, I put in a lot of thought on this simple request. I weighed the factors in my mind. On the one hand was Fenton's 30-year service. On the other...
Mr. Waterman.
On the other, he was already receiving his pension of, his pension. However...
Please, Mr. Waterman.
However, Fenton, my boy, I decided to go you one better.
One better? Not a new desk.
Nothing so unsentimental. Fenton, instead of allowing you to purchase the desk, I'm giving it to you.
Phew.
All right, boys, right in here. Take the desk wherever Fenton here wants it. Now, back to work, everybody. Month-end clearance today.
Whoops. Easy, men. Don't drop it. Easy.
Fenton, my boy, in the years ahead, when you're seated at your old desk, think of us, won't you?
I certainly will, Mr. Waterman. I certainly will.
Autolite is bringing you Mr. Jack Benny in A Good and Faithful Servant. Tonight's presentation in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense. Well, Senator, did you take my advice?
Why, yes, Harlow. My Autolite spark plug dealer turned my worn spark plugs out of office and elected a set of ignition-engineered Autolite spark plugs.
A wise move, Senator. Those Autolite spark plugs are designed by the same Autolite engineers who designed the coil, distributor, generator, and all the other important parts of the complete ignition system used as original equipment on many leading makes of our finest cars, trucks, and tractors. They're world famous for quality and performance.
And my Autolite spark plug dealer nominated Autolite resistor spark plugs for my car, Harlow.
Ah, you're on top now, Senator, because Autolite resistor spark plugs represent one of the greatest advancements in spark plugs for automotive use in the past 20 years. They offer proven advantages such as double life, gas savings, and smoother performance. And they're specified as original equipment on many leading makes of our finest cars. What's more, the Autolite resistor spark plug is just one of a complete line of ignition-engineered Autolite spark plugs for every use.
So, fellow citizens, be sure, vote for Autolite.
Right, Senator. Friends, take a tip from me and see your nearest Autolite spark plug dealer this week. And remember, from bumper to tail light, you're always right with Autolite. And now, Autolite brings back to our Hollywood soundstage Mr. Jack Benny in Elliot Lewis's production of A Good and Faithful Servant. A tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Retirement agreed with me. A walk to the park to see my friends when I felt like it. Leisurely lunch at Elmo's Grotto when I felt like it. And when the need arose, a little gardening. Mother and I were very happy.
You've done enough for one morning, Harold. Your back will go out again.
All through, Mother. Just cleaning off the spade.
What were you planting this morning, Harold?
Mother, if anything should happen to me, knock wood.
Knock wood.
Right in between the beets and the radishes, there's a very rich patch of dirt.
Son, aren't we going to get our little cottage by the lake?
I have to go in town today, Mother. I might just inquire around.
Oh, good.
You know, Mr. Waterman is really a very sweet man. The Waterman pension plan. I just wish I could tell him how happy it's made me. I hadn't told Mother, but Miss Prentice had called that morning. Mr. Cartwright wanted to see me that afternoon at the office, she said. And she asked how I was. What would have happened if I'd asked her to lunch? I almost did, too. In the cashier's office at the store, Miss Prentice smiled when she saw me, and I smiled back. In fact, we struck up quite a conversation.
Oh, Mr. Fenton, how are you?
Fine. Just fine, Miss Prentice.
Retirement agree with you?
Yes, indeed. Fine.
You notice we haven't filled your old job.
No? Oh, yes, indeed.
Haven't been able to find another man of your type.
Well.
Is that you, Fenton? Come on in here.
Coming, Mr. Cartwright.
Sit down, Fenton, sit down.
Thank you.
Just trying to clean up accounts on the robbery. Fenton, what was your final tally again?
$50,000, almost exactly, Mr. Cartwright.
You're way off. That doesn't check with my audit at all.
I'm quite sure of my figures.
Well, then you're wrong, that's all. My check shows they got away with $82,000.
$82,000?
Right. Now, if you'll just sign the necessary statements corroborating my audit...
I can't do that, Mr. Cartwright.
And just why can't you? Don't you take my word for it?
Frankly, no.
Fenton, look. You're retired. It's nothing to you one way or the other. You just made a little mistake in your figures, that's all.
Mr. Cartwright, are you asking me to help cover up a shortage in your accounts?
All right, Fenton, I'll lay it on the line. Temporarily, I'm a bit short. Involvement with a woman, and you wouldn't understand.
I most certainly wouldn't.
Look, I'll make it worth your while.
Shortages are found out sooner or later, Mr. Cartwright.
All right, if that's your attitude, let me tell you something, Fenton. I don't like the smell of this robbery of yours. I don't like it at all. What do you think of that?
You're implying that I made off with $50,000 belonging to Waterman's?
I think it's highly possible. And how are you so sure it was $50,000?
Supposing me, for one instant, capable of such a thing, Mr. Cartwright, wouldn't I be much too clever to put my head in a noose by covering up for you?
Fenton, if I was talking to an honest man, wouldn't he have taken my story right to Mr. Waterman? I'll give you 5 minutes. Either sign my audit or I go to the police and accuse you of stealing $82,000. Think it over, Fenton.
No question about it, Mr. Cartwright's dishonesty might be a bit awkward for me. My instinct about the man had been thoroughly sound. I had disliked him for 16 years. Well, there was only one safe way out of it.
Well?
Mr. Cartwright, if you need money...
Yes?
Why don't you rob the vault? Actually, it isn't hard at all.
Well, how do I get away with the money?
I'm sorry, I never reveal professional secrets.
Well, then you'll have to help me, Fenton. Lock me in the vault and you get away with the money.
Me?
Sure. Then we're both in the clear for good. Help me out, Fenton.
You mean I'm going to clear out the vault a second time?
You'll never regret it.
Regret it? The fact is, I'd rather enjoy it. We settled on the following Friday. Friday nights, the store stayed open till 9, and they were having a big white sale that day. The money was already stacked on Mr. Cartwright's desk when I got there. It was a juicy haul. I didn't see Mr. Cartwright around, but...
Hello, Mr. Fenton.
Miss Prentice. But the money.
I was listening when you and Mr. Cartwright made your plans, Mr. Fenton, and he caught me and forced me to help him. You understand, Harold. I mean, Mr. Fenton.
Harold. Times like these draw people together quickly, don't you think?
Oh, I do. I really do.
Miss Prentice.
Helen.
Thank you. Helen. Miss Prentice. Mr. Cartwright mentioned a woman in his life. You're not the one?
Harold, of course not.
Excuse me. I just thought... You remember the office party last Christmas?
Oh, that? Well, that was just because he was under the mistletoe. And if you'd been under it instead of Mr. Cartwright...
Really? Well...
Oh, Fenton, you're here. Good. Anybody see you come up?
It doesn't matter, really, Mr. Cartwright. Might even be better that way. Then you and Miss Prentice can say that I left minutes before the bandits arrived.
You're right, of course, Harold.
Thank you. Are you ready, Mr. Cartwright? I brought some wrapping paper for the money. Even brought along a handle with care sticker. That's the Fenton touch, you know.
Get on with it, will you?
No need to be nervous. There. Neat? I spent 8 years in wrapping and mailing.
All right. You know what to do with it, Helen.
I know.
Just a minute, Mr. Cartwright. I'm to take the money, remember?
There's been a change, Fenton. We rewrote the script.
You think that's wise? To fly in the face of my experience?
Now, look, Fenton, we're not children. You lock us in the vault and take off with the money. You think we'd ever see you again?
Well, you're questioning my honesty? I'm sure Miss Prentice will vouch for me. We're rather good friends. Miss Prentice. Helen.
Unfortunately for you, Fenton, Helen's on my side. Now, if you wouldn't mind getting into the vault, huh?
Me? In the vault? But...
This is a loaded gun, Fenton. Get in the vault.
But...
You came back for a second helping, that's all. The Confederate got away with the money, but I courageously slammed the vault door on you and went for help.
But...
Will they believe me? I imagine they'll find $50,000 somewhere around your house. They'll believe me.
Helen. I see.
I'm sorry, Harold. It's a nasty trick, but we're nasty people. You should have stuck to squirrels.
Just one thing, Fenton. How did you ever get that $50,000 out of here the first time?
How? Well, I didn't, Mr. Cartwright.
You didn't?
Then where is it?
It's still in the vault.
I don't believe it.
Oh, it's quite cleverly hidden. It took me most of that night. I was locked in.
Get in there and show me.
I'm sorry, Mr. Cartwright.
Get in there.
No. I went through a lot for that money, Mr. Cartwright. 30 years. I just as soon you shot me.
Helen, hold the gun on him. I'm going in and look.
Well, don't be long. What if somebody should walk in?
I'll be able to see if he's lying. Just watch him.
You see anything?
Not yet. I don't think it's possible that... Open the door so I can get some more light.
Must be true. Crime changes people. I had never lied, yet I lied to Cartwright. I had never used violence, yet I got behind Helen and... I guess I'll go home. Mother will be wondering what's happened to me.
Some more cereal, Harold?
I don't think so, Mother, thanks. What time is it?
8:10, son.
Well, they would have opened the vault at 8 this morning. The police should be here any minute.
Are you sure those two will implicate you, Harold?
It seems likely, Mother. The gun would be hard to explain. And I think Miss Prentice will turn on Mr. Cartwright after a night in the vault.
Yes, she's just the type.
I'm sorry, Mother. I guess I just don't know much about women.
It's all right, son. You think they'll be hard on you?
Not very. I haven't spent any of the money. The insurance companies always look kindly on such cases. There they are.
Harold, how long?
2 years, Mother. Maybe less. Maybe even 1.
It's still a long time.
A long time? After 30 years in Waterman's? Hardly. I'll get the door.
Suspense, presented by Autolite. Tonight's star, Mr. Jack Benny.
This is Harlow Wilcox speaking for Autolite, world's largest independent manufacturer of automotive electrical equipment. Autolite is proud to serve the greatest names in the industry. They are members of the Autolite family, as are the 98,000 Autolite distributors and dealers in the United States and thousands more in Canada and throughout the world. Our family also includes the nearly 30,000 men and women in 28 great Autolite plants from coast to coast, and in still other Autolite plants in many foreign countries, as well as the 18,000 people who have invested a portion of their savings in Autolite. Every Autolite product is backed by constant research and precision built to the highest standards of quality and performance. So remember, from bumper to tail light, you're always right with Autolite.
Next week, a story of revenge. The desperate effort of a murderer to destroy the man who had committed him to prison. The story is called Concerto for Killer and Eyewitnesses. Our star, the director of Suspense, Mr. Elliot Lewis. That's next week on Suspense. Suspense is produced and directed by Elliot Lewis, with music composed by Lucian Morowick and conducted by Lud Gluskin. A Good and Faithful Servant was written for Suspense by Richard M. Powell. Portions of this program were transcribed. In tonight's cast, Norma Varden was heard as Mrs. Fenton, Doris Singleton as Helen, Gerald Moore as Mr. Cartwright, Joseph Kearns as Mr. Waterman, Hy Averback as Lieutenant Miller, and Charles Calvert as Mr. Wolfe.
For the location of your nearest Autolite spark plug or Autolite battery dealer, or your nearest authorized Autolite service station, phone Western Union by number and ask for operator 25. Switch to Autolite. Good night.
This is the CBS Radio Network.
Don't think Elliot Lewis was being egotistical having himself star in an episode of Suspense that he was producing and directing. After all, Robert Montgomery did the same thing on some of those 1 hour-long Suspense shows. I think he did it a total of 3 times during that period, but I digress. A delightful episode of Suspense, June 2nd, 1952, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Again, reminding tomorrow, Archie Andrews, another episode of the Jack Benny program, Bob Hope, Fibber McGee and Molly, and Claudia. But up next, Superman.
Locating fallout shelters to protect people from radioactive fallout in the event of a nuclear attack is a big job. But getting ready to use this shelter in an emergency is another big job. And Civil Defense is working on this right now at the community level. This is called Community Shelter Planning, or CSP. It means planning and coordination at the local level to ensure local emergency readiness. CSP will match the people in a community to the best possible shelter spaces available. It will define areas without sufficient shelter. And it will provide for the updating of shelter plans. CSP will tell the people in a community where to go and what to do in the event of a nuclear attack.
Let's wrap up this episode of Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox with another episode of Superman and the story about Mr. Deutsch and the radium mine. This episode originally broadcast June 2nd, 1941. And let's see what's going on with Jimmy Olsen in that seaplane with his dog.
Presenting the transcription feature, Superman.
Look! Up in the sky!
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman! Yes, it's Superman, strange visitor from the planet Krypton, who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. Superman, who can leap tall buildings at a single bound, face a speeding bullet to its target, send steel in his bare hands, and who, disguised as Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth and justice.
And now to our story. As you remember, young Jimmy Olsen, believing he was going to Clark Kent's assistance, stumbled on a large seaplane moored in a cove near the hideout shack from which Dr. Deutsch, the espionage agent, is working. A stray, homeless dog Jimmy had picked up on the road, frightened by a clap of thunder, leaped into the cabin of the plane. Jimmy went after him, tripped against the controls, and suddenly found himself roaring up into the storm-swept night, a lone passenger on a mysterious, unpiloted plane. Meanwhile, back in the shack, Clark Kent, in order to gain more information about the espionage ring, is allowing himself to be Dr. Deutsch's prisoner. Deutsch's assistant, Hans, has just completed a call over the elaborate shortwave radio set in the shack. A jagged streak of lightning splits the darkness and thunder crashes overhead.
Before the rain comes, we'd better go down and see that the plane is properly moored. There will be a high wind tonight.
Ja, Herr Doktor. I go.
Where is this plane you've been talking about, Deutsch?
Moored in the cove. It is a very special seaplane. You asked before about the control board with all the dials. That is for the plane.
Oh, radio control.
Exactly. More perfect even than human hands. But you will see how it works. You will be flying in it shortly.
You're being very kind to me, Deutsch.
Not so kind, Herr Kent. It will be the last flight you ever take.
I don't think so, Deutsch. I have an idea I'll be flying for a long time, and not in a plane.
I see what you mean. Wings, eh? I must say, Kent, you are a man of courage. Facing certain death, you can make jokes.
What do you intend doing with me?
I'm going to send you to Volcano Island, where you will be well taken care of until I have no further use for you.
Oh? And where is Volcano Island?
Not too far from here.
Is that the headquarters of your ring?
I suppose you might call it that. On the island, Kent, the master plan is being worked out carefully. From there will come the final stroke, that will bring the world to its knees.
Sounds very ambitious. What is the master plan?
Now you are becoming too inquisitive. Let it suffice to say that it's a plan of domination that cannot possibly fail. When it's put into effect, my people will rule the universe. It's beginning to rain. You will not have a very pleasant trip, Herr Kent.
Doctor, the plane.
What is it?
The plane is gone. Oh, impossible. It is gone, Herr Doctor. The mooring lines are broken. Are you mad? I did not believe it myself.
Tune in the radio control.
Dragnet. Yeah.
How did we set the plane before we left it?
Southeast by south.
Turn the compass dial. Southeast by south.
Yeah.
Stay where you are, Herr Kent. Remember, I still hold this revolver.
I have it, Herr Doctor. The plane is in the air at 5,000 feet.
Bring her back.
I have lost the storm is veering.
Find it again, you. What's the trouble, Hans?
It is hard to control in the storm.
Give it more power.
Yeah. That's it. Now it is level.
Change the course. Bring her back.
I'm afraid, Herr Doctor.
Afraid of what?
There's not enough gasoline to bring it back.
How far is it from the island?
Not more than 30 miles.
It has gas enough to carry it there, of course.
Yeah.
We cannot tell who is on the plane. But whoever it is must never reach the island alive. We will have to sacrifice the plane. Direct it into the mouth of the volcano, Hans.
Into the volcano? It will disappear.
Precisely. Then there will be no wreckage to trace. Nothing floating to shore. In the volcano it will crash. There will be no trace of the plane and no trace of its passengers.
But could we not land the plane on an island?
No. We can take no chances. Do as I say.
Yeah, Herr Doctor.
Unaware that Jimmy Olsen is the only passenger aboard the storm-tossed radio-controlled plane, Clark Kent stands by as Dr. Deutsch orders it directed into the cavernous heart of the extinct volcano. Meanwhile, aboard the plane itself, Jimmy awaits what he believes will be certain destruction, his mongrel dog whimpering in his lap.
Don't be frightened, old fella. Whatever's going to happen's going to happen. Gosh, I wish I knew how to run this plane. To make matters worse, the motors are giving out. This thing suddenly decides to take a nosedive. I can't understand how this plane is flying without any pilot. Maybe I'm dreaming. Gosh, if lightning ever strikes this thing, we're goners, Storm. Guess it doesn't matter much. We're probably goners anyway. I don't know why you had to jump into the cabin and make me follow you. What were you looking for? Oh, it wasn't your fault, Storm. You didn't know. Here now, you just stay right here on the seat while I go up front and try to play with the controls again. Maybe I can do something. I'll be right back. Sure pitching and tossing. I don't know how this plane stays up the way it does in all this wind. Let's see, the controls are over here. That's right. I'll see if I can budge them. No, they're all locked. Except the one I bumped against when we took off, and I can't get that back either. It doesn't look too good. I wonder where we are. Over the ocean, I guess. Can't see a thing through the window. The motors are missing worse than ever. We're dropping lower. Storm! Storm!
Well, Hans, how is it coming?
Good, Herr Doctor.
The course of the radio plane is set into the volcano?
Yeah.
You don't care how you kill as long as you kill. Isn't that so, Deutsch?
Your comments do not interest me at the moment, Herr Kent.
They'll interest you sooner or later. They'll interest a court of law, too. The Grayson murder, the murder of the old caretaker. No doubt Lewis's murder, and now this.
You know too much, my young friend. Far too much. And because of that knowledge, you will give up your life.
On Volcano Island?
On Volcano Island.
I can think of no pleasanter place to die.
You will change your mind, I can promise you. You still have control, Hans.
Yeah, good control. The plane nears the island in a few minutes.
I cannot understand who could have taken it.
Herr Doctor, there was something I forgot.
What is it?
This I found on the shore near the mooring.
Eh? Oh, a cap.
Let me see that cap.
Possibly you know the owner, Herr Kent?
I said let me see it.
Why not? Here. Eh? Whose cap is it?
Deutsch, you'd better bring that plane down to a safe landing.
Are you out of your mind?
You heard what I said. Bring that plane down safely.
Stop this nonsense.
This isn't nonsense.
Stay away from that door.
Sorry, Deutsch, but you forced me to leave. There's something I've got to do.
Stand back, Kent, or I shoot you down. I warn you.
So long. I'll be seeing you. You wasted bullets, Deutsch. Clark Kent has given way to Superman. That cat belonged to Jimmy Olsen, and if he's in that plane, I've got to save him before it dives into the volcano. Up, and away! I don't see how any plane could stay aloft in weather like this. I hope I'm wrong about that being Jimmy's cat, but I don't think so. It was the same color, and it had that British Air Corps insignia on it, the one I gave Jimmy last week. Southeast by south is the course the plane is on. Should be overtaking it any moment now. Oh, I wish it wasn't so dark. Even my eyes can't pierce this curtain of rain for any distance. If I can only spot the island and all this ocean, I could get there before the plane. What's that dark patch below? That's the island. And there's the plane, diving straight for that dead volcano. Down! Down! I can't get in front of it. There isn't time. I'll have to grab the tail and pull it into the sea. Faster. Faster. Now! Got it! Into the ocean with it. Oh, I'll have to smash the side in to get Jimmy out. Oh, he's unconscious. Best thing to do, I guess, is get him ashore. You'll be all right, Jim. As good as new. Up and away! Storm seems to have died. Well, that's a help. Jimmy's coming, too. Gonna be awfully surprised to see Clark Kent, but I think I can explain it. Jim.
Oh. Where am I?
You're okay, Jim.
Mr. Kent. How? What happened?
Just take it easy for a minute. You had a tough time with it.
The plane started to fall.
Yes, I know.
But how did you get here, Mr. Kent?
Why, I was tied up in the rear compartment of the plane. When it crashed into the sea, I got loose. I pulled you out and swam to this island.
Where's Storm?
Who?
Storm, my dog.
Your dog?
Yes, sir. I picked him up on the road. He was in the plane with me. What happened to him?
I didn't see any dog, Jimmy.
Oh, gosh, he must have drowned. Gee, Mr. Kent. He was such a swell dog. I don't know what I'm going to... Storm! You're all right. Mr. Kent, he swam to shore. Oh, good old Storm. You found me, didn't you? Attaboy. Isn't he swell, Mr. Kent?
He's awful funny looking.
That's why I like him. Lie down, Storm. Atta fella. He minds me perfectly. Say, where are we, Mr. Kent?
On an island. I think it's called Volcano Island. But tell me, how did you happen to get into that plane?
Oh, you won't bawl me out, will you?
Bawl you out? Why should I?
Because I did something I maybe shouldn't have.
What?
Well, we got a message at the office.
Wait a minute, Jimmy. I hear a plane.
So do I.
It's coming nearer. There it is. Over to the left.
Circling and coming down. Do you think it'll land?
Let's see where it can land. Look, Jimmy. It's heading straight for that cliff.
It's going to crash. I can't look.
Oh, Jimmy! The cliff's opening up like a huge door. Listen to it rumble. Well, Jimmy, did you see that?
No, I wasn't looking. I had my eyes covered. Where's the plane?
Well, you won't believe this because I can hardly believe it myself. The cliff opened up and the plane flew inside. See? It's closing now.
Mystery piled on mystery. What is the secret of Volcano Island, and who on it is working on the master plan that Dr. Deutsch mentioned? Both Kent and Jimmy are in for some dangerously exciting moments. How dangerous, neither of them realizes. Listen again for more thrills.
Don't forget, tune in again for the next thrilling episode with Superman.
Look, up in the sky.
A bird. It's a plane. It's Superman.
And there you have it. The continuing story of Mr. Deutsch and the radium mine from 83 years ago, June 2nd, 1941, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. And we will have the next part coming up on Tuesday here on the podcast. Coming up tomorrow, though, we will have Archie Andrews, Jack Benny, Bob Hope, Pepper McGee and Molly, and Claudia. That'll be coming up on our Monday podcast. On Tuesday, in addition to Superman, we'll have more crime with Gangbusters, Boston Blackie, Inner Sanctum Mysteries, and Calling All Cars. That's on our next podcast. That'll be on Tuesday. But right now, have yourself a great Sunday and a great week ahead for Classic Radio Theater. I'm Wyatt Cox.